And welcome to another exciting episode of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Tim D.O.G. And with me tonight, we have the Fatal Four all here.
Yeah!
That year you heard was at Agent_70 on Twitter.
What's up, everybody? I, for one, am ecstatic to have the entire team back together.
At least for maybe 30 minutes.
That's right. Briefly.
We also have at RuddyCat on Twitter.
That's right, folks. The Four Horsemen are here. What you gonna do about it, brother?
And joining us after a sabbatical, he couldn't stay away from the Justice League talk. AKA we wouldn't let him stay away from the Justice League talk.
Right.
At PCN_Dirt.
Welcome back, Dirt!
Yay! Hi, everybody. Did you miss me?
We definitely missed the DC perspective.
You know, let me just say to everybody who's listening to the show, these guys have been hounding me for weeks to go see Justice League. They wanted to talk about it the day after it came out, and I was like, I don't go to movies like right away. Like,
I mean, to be 70 who
yeah, technically that was me.
my dislike of people is so great that I wait a couple weeks before I go see a movie so that I can go and that's I went at 12:30. There's like 2 other people in the theater. That was perfect.
Yeah,
like,
that.
Now there's I bring a certain perspective to this because I did go opening night. I did sit in a relatively packed theater, and that did impact my feelings on the movie, and we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I definitely was hounding PCN_Dirt. Like from the moment I left the theater, I might have been in our chat, and hopefully at one point we'll be in our Slack, our Comic Book Chronicles Slack, and I'll be like, "Come on, Dirt, watch the movie. When have you watched? Have you watched it yet? Have you watched it yet? Have you watched it yet?"
Nope. So I finally saw it yesterday. So how long has it been out now? Been out
a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So
plus weeks. Yeah.
That's how long it takes for me to usually go see a movie. So there you go. Well, see, and I thought about going earlier, but they got rid of the early morning movies. They used to do movies at like 10 in the morning. And that was perfect. I mean, there's absolutely never anybody there at 10 o'clock in the morning, but they stopped doing those. So now noon is about the earliest they do movies anymore. So, So anyway, I finally saw it. So the wait is over. Everybody's been waiting to hear what I think about it. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, let's get into it then. Justice League. Everybody's seen it.
But no, we got to introduce Roddy.
Screw that. No, he's already introduced me.
I already introduced him.
You want to just do the plugs real quick?
Yes, go to the website, thekliqnation.com, and you can find previous episodes of the Comic Book Chronicles, Comic Book News. You can follow us from the homepage to our social media accounts. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google+. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast by going to iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, and the CSPN Podcast Network. Go to cspn.us. Do it today.
Do it today.
And buy some of that nice Comic Book Chronicles merchandise by going to shop.cspn.us. We record live every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're talking comic books on social media, make sure to use the hashtags Comic Book Chronicles and CBChron to join in the conversation. Now Justice League.
Yeah. All right. So I guess since I was the one that's hounding PCN_dirt for weeks to get him on the show. One, because I miss him for one thing, but two, right? But two, I as our resident DC expert, I wanted to hear his perspective on this because I came into this movie wanting to be happy to see it. I wanted to be impressed. I wanted to be glad that they had finally come together and put together something that I could enjoy on screen. And I had set the bar pretty low because I just wanted it to be more enjoyable than Batman versus Superman. I know we differ on that, but the general consensus, and I guess I find myself within that the general consensus that I needed it to at least entertain me more than that, and I felt it did.
We can have some fights about this. I enjoyed it more than Age of Ultron, and I enjoyed it more than Civil War.
Yeah, I think that's where we would I understand where you're coming from when it comes to Age of Ultron, because I felt that was kind of on the disjointed side. But Civil War, I thought was a pretty solid story and a fun tale. You want to give?
But that's not saying that Civil War was terrible.
Right.
I'm just saying I enjoyed it more than Civil War.
Right, and I'll tell you why I disagree with that. But well, tell us what you enjoyed about it.
Well, for one thing, I knew going into it I was going to dislike the changes done to Aquaman and Flash. I mean, that was just kind of a given.
Whedon changes or just changes overall to the characters?
No, just changes overall to the character. Like Aquaman has always been kind of a Greco-Roman character from Atlantis, and they had him doing more of the, Polynesian look to him and more of the kind of anti-hero feel.
It's kind of a bro.
Yeah, he's like the guy in the Geico commercials. It's like, I love big savings, potato chip. Like that guy.
Good one. I like that. I like that.
But the thing was, part of that has always been that Arthur Curry was the king of Atlantis. Like he had gone back, he had regained his throne, and then became part of the Justice League. And in this movie, they talk about the fact that he was the queen's son, but never that he had ever been king. He had never taken the throne. So he's more of in that lost and wandering stage. So it made the character different. And once they kind of developed that fact that he's not a dethroned king, or he's not the king just wandering on the surface on the weekends, then I was a little more comfortable with the character.
Right.
And another thing I noticed that with Aquaman, even though they changed his look completely and made it more buff and made his hair dark, by the time they got to the end and he puts on the armor harkens back to the original. Had dark pants. It was the gold scales instead of orange, but technically that's what the orange I think was supposed to be, was gold. Right. And then they lightened his hair. I don't know if you noticed that, but towards the end of the film, his hair was
highlights.
Yeah. So he looked more like the regular Aquaman. So he was different, but it was different kind of with like one of those no prize explanations that he's not the dethroned king or anything like that. So that made it a little different. That opens the door for that storyline to be told in the future.
Right.
Also, the Flash, I knew I wasn't going to be completely comfortable with, because that was a very big change with him. Also, they made him a lot younger. Right. He wasn't working at the crime lab yet, so that's not how he got his powers. So they didn't quite explain any of that, which again leaves it open for something in the future.
That's a good point of mentioning, he didn't get his powers from the crime lab, because that's a fundamental part of his origin story.
Right.
Yeah, although they move him towards that. They move him towards the crime lab, at the end.
But he's already got his powers.
Right. So it'd be interesting to see if they, when they go back and kind of tell, his origin.
It was just his high school chemistry lab, but I'm sorry.
But those two things aside, like I thought Cyborg was pretty dead on. I really liked his portrayal, and I knew that his outfit was like all CGI and was going to look like, it looks janky, and it's supposed to look janky. Like it's supposed to look like he's cobbled kind of something together just to hold himself together, but it doesn't really make sense. And so you know, it looks kind of funky, but it works. And then towards the end, you get this glimpse of him turning into more of the traditional armor. But I liked his character. I thought that was dead on. That was pretty perfect for him, especially the relationship with his dad. And with Joe Morton is one of those guys, you know, like anytime there's a movie and it's like, I don't know, but Joe Morton's in it. You're like, oh, okay, you know, it's probably pretty good then.
I was looking for Linda Hamilton, to be honest, but
but yeah, so then I still feel like Affleck just doesn't do, I don't know, there's just something about him that just feels off whenever he's doing that. But Cavill as Superman, I thought was great. You know, Wonder Woman, again, fantastic. And then Jeremy Irons as Alfred is always fun to see on the screen. So, you know, those couple characters, I wasn't really comfortable with the changes going into it, but they made it work. And by the time it got to the end, you know, they put everything kind of back in line of where it should be.
Gotcha. What? No, because I'm going to tell you what where I disagree with you on the comparison, at least with Civil War. Maybe not so much Age of Ultron, but you know, I came into this wanting to be impressed, wanting to be wowed. I said, you know, I came into it just saying, just give me something to cheer. And I hearkened back to the first Avengers movie. And, you know, I saw that opening night, a packed house, everyone was jazzed, you know, lots of hooting and hollering over the sound. And I remember distinctly the scene where Banner's like, that's my secret cap, I'm always angry. And he drives, you know, he transforms into the Hulk and drives the Chitauri ship into Park Avenue, right? And when I'm watching that in the theater's going bananas. I can't hear the roar of the Hulk over the roar of the crowd. And I was waiting for something like that in Justice League, and I just never got it.
Well, and that's probably going back to the fact that I hate going to crowded movie theaters. Is I don't want that in a movie. I'm not looking for that in a movie.
But I was in a relatively crowded theater, and we were all dead silent for most of the movie, and that's a terrible sign.
See, that's not. I'm not going into it looking to cheer. I'm going into it trying to look for that emotional connection to the characters, and that was something that the DC movies, ever since Batman Begins, have been more of a film than a movie, whereas the Marvel stuff is more of the movie than the film. So the Marvel ones are more of the event. Like that's your, you know, your popcorn and yelling at the screen and, you know.
Yeah, like, but for like maybe Winter Soldier.
Right, reciting the dialogue that you saw in the trailer, along with, you know, those bad one-liner comebacks and that type of stuff. The DC films have always been different, where they've been much more about mood and atmosphere and emotional tension, and much more character-driven than
grimacing.
And I'm fine with that, because that I see as being more, like I said, more film than movie. And that's something that I like about these that are different. And, you know, even if you go back and you watch Man of Steel, I still think, you know, they could have easily cut 20, 30 minutes out of that and tightened it up a whole lot more. But even when you're having those big battle moments, it's more about the struggle than the eventual overcoming of the struggle. It's more about trying to find the strength to fight through it than finding the strength to overcome it. And that's a subtle difference, but that's the twist. And I think that's the problem, is a lot of people go in to the movies thinking that they're going to see this popcorn blockbuster, and that's really not what they're trying to put together. They're crafting something different. And that's what I appreciate in the DC stuff. And that's not to say that the Marvel ones are bad. Like, I loved Spider-Man Homecoming, and that is a complete popcorn, you know, Saturday afternoon, you know, yelling at the screen and, you know, go talk to her and, you know, punch him in the face and, you know, that kind of stuff going on. But that's a different type of film.
Right.
Like, I was talking to my son, and, you know, he was saying that, you know, he didn't really like Age of Ultron either. And, but there were some comparisons you could make between the two. And he goes, I do think I like this one better, but I don't know. He goes, I'm kind of torn with Guardians of the Galaxy. But, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy is a different type of movie, and it's like a comedy with superheroes in it, you know, which is different than a lot of the other films that are being made even. So I don't even feel like you have to like compare and contrast, you know, something like Guardians to something like this, because that is another completely different type of thing that they're putting together with those movies.
Yeah, I was
so
gonna,
it just
to go back to actually, Dirt just brought it up. It could have been Agent 70, even though you were in a crowded theater. It could have been the crowd you were with, because I know, you know, I haven't seen most of the movies that have come out, you know, superhero wise lately. There's been a decidedly different crowd going to, say, Spider-Man: Homecoming than, say, Thor: Ragnarok or Wonder Woman or, you know, whatever else has come out this week. And the crowds have kind of varied, and part of that was partially because of the theater that I went to, but most of those ones were in the same theater with the same relative crowd. But people, you know, certain crowds of people.
I just felt like, you know, we were all just kind of subdued, and we were just sort of, you know, watching it and taking it in, referring to Justice League. And, you know, we all sort of turned to each other. I went with a bunch of friends. We turned to each other like, okay, you know, like we didn't have like that, you know, that I don't know, that wonderment. You know, like sometimes you just go for, you know, just for the entertainment. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid story. You know, we won't get into, you know, we won't pile on and beat up on, you know, Steppenwolf being kind of just like this kind of ugly looking villain. You know, the CGI just being kind of messy, you know, just kind of a blur, you know. It's kind of like the whole Wonder Woman thing all over again.
Which actually, let's get on that point for one quick second, because actually I think Tim brought up in a tweet about why didn't they use like go ahead and I'm saying, like, well, they're probably leading up to that one, which you probably knew that, but I'm like, if they had done that now, that would have just blown their whole wad.
Might as well.
They're trying to build up to.
Yeah, but at the same time, I felt like they were adapting the Justice League storyline from whatchamacallit, New 52. Right? You know, with the Batman versus the Parademon right at the beginning. So I felt like, you know, they need to at least show Darkseid, you know, the way they showed Thanos in the first Avengers.
I was just thinking they need to, just for petty purposes, they should have tried to beat Marvel to the punch by getting their big purple bad guy on the screen
right away.
Anyone else. Yeah.
One of the things, like, I didn't read any reviews until after I saw the movie, because I always try to, you know, not poison myself one way or another going into something. And after, like, so I go and I see the movie, and I'm like, I liked it. You know, it certainly had some problems to it, but overall I enjoyed it. I go and I look, the cinema score is a B+. You go on Rotten Tomatoes and it's a 4.1 out of 5 from people who went and saw it in the theater. I'm like, yeah, that's, you know, that's good. That's right on there. But then you read like the critical reviews, and the critical reviews are way low. And you go to one critical review and they'll say something like, none of the characters are fleshed out. There's no reason to cheer for any of these people. I hate all these characters. This movie's terrible. Then you go to the next one and it says, you know, Flash and Aquaman are great characters and they really drive home how wonderful they are, but I don't like any of the other characters. And then you go read another review and they say that Cyborg is probably the worst superhero that's ever been put on film since Blank Man or something like that. And so it's like,
and that's how like Cyborg and Flash need their own movie because they're the greatest ones in there. So yeah, I mean, you can always get.
Yeah, so that was another. It's like all the reviewers who hated it, but they hated it for different reasons. And they couldn't agree on why they didn't like it, just only the fact that they didn't like it. And it felt, after reading some of them, that they only watched like maybe the first half hour or 45 minutes, and then they tuned out for the rest of it. So they just kind of got these impressions.
To not like it?
I'm sorry, what's that?
It's almost as if they went into it wanting to not like it.
Yeah, it's like you're not supposed to like these. So they go in, you know, just with that idea. And some of them, like for instance, Steppenwolf. You know, the first time he talks, I was like, oh my gosh, I thought Max von Sydow was dead. Like, how did they get him to do this movie? But then, you know, it's some other guy who does the voice, but it sounds, you know, like him. And it sounds so much like him that had to be on purpose. Like at some point, someone said, he sounds just like Max von Sydow, who was in The Exorcist. We've got to use him doing that voice in this movie. And yet, nobody has picked up on that. Like nobody has said anything about that on any of the reviews, and it's like a dead on, like that's his voice. It's great. And that was one of the things that I thought was just so great about the villain. There was also a lot of stuff with the whole like Chernobyl, fake Chernobyl area.
That family. What were we doing following that family?
Right.
What the hell was that?
Because they're the ones looking for the hope.
Oh, for
The
God.
hope has got to be out there for
That
them.
was the Whedon thing.
Right. Yeah, that was
Whedon
probably
influence.
something. That felt like something that was kind of tacked on towards the end.
Those
but-
are the people. She didn't even get to use the bug spray. I'm like, come on, spray a parademon.
I thought she
like-
did. Did she
I
not?
loved.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
But like, I loved how Gotham City looked like almost like Tim Burton's Gotham City. Like it just had that look where it was so overdone to the point that it was fake, like a 1950s, crime noir movie set. Like the way Tim Burton filmed a lot of his stuff, where like the first 2 floors of the building were normal, but then the upper floors that they would build had windows that were only like 2 feet tall, 3 feet tall. So it looked like they were a lot taller, but it was obviously, like a forced scale type thing.
Oh.
And if you look at, the Batman set, when he's in Gotham City, like it has that same type of feel as Burton's Batman. I thought that was great, the way that they incorporated that into it in that style. But like the parademons, I think they needed to explain some of the stuff a little bit more of Apocalypse and Darkseid and the New Gods. And obviously they're leaving that open to explore in the future. They wanted to give people some hints, but not really get into it, so that when it comes back up in a later movie, people can go, oh, I remember that now from Justice League. But I think they left it too open.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because when the parademon first shows up, it's like, is this Firefly? Is this Killer Moth? Like, what is this guy? And it, kind of takes a minute.
It's like, why are they trying to talk to him? Right.
But there's some subtle stuff like that, bank robbers or jewel thief or whoever is coming out at the beginning when Batman's there. And, Batman, roughs him up a little bit, but then he fights the parademon and then he leaves the guy there. Like he's showing the guy mercy. Like Batman has changed.
He's also talking to Alfred, like, hey, Alfred, over his radio. I'm like, come on.
That
man.
was the one thing. I was waiting for Penny One. It's like Penny One.
Yeah,
like use the
come
code
on.
name. You can't do that.
All right. So help a brother out here, Dirt.
No, I think that's also probably going to be a deleted scene for the definitely upcoming director's cut or whatever the case may be. So.
All right. So help a brother out here. What the hell is the point of a Batman crawler vehicle? Like, what was that?
All right. Batman.
What was that?
Like, why wouldn't
Is that
you?
a Lego too? Is it just a Lego toy?
It just looks cool.
I mean, why have the flying fox, the big carrier? Because it's one, sells toys, and two, because it's Batman and he can have that.
Why build the base underneath a lake? Why not just have it come out the side of the hill? Because it looks cool and you need more toys. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's like, why not have that stuff?
I understand the flying fox.
I mean, that is classic. That is classic comic book Batman. It's not quite to the level of Bat Shark Repellent, but it is that, you make something for every contingency and then you make 10 more things just at random because you don't know what contingency you're going to need them for.
That's a superpower. He's rich.
Yes, exactly. Which, by the way, how'd you like the product placement of that car?
Oh, the Mercedes.
Yeah, his winged Mercedes there in the alleyway. They got a nice close up of the dashboard with the symbol on it when he starts up the car and driving it. Like, yeah, like that's a great way to product place a car that no one in the world can possibly afford that is going to go see this movie. You know what I mean?
Didn't they give Diana a Mercedes too?
May have. I don't know. But it's like it's just kind of funny. It's like
They gave her the more affordable one. Is that what it is?
because Marvel does those free comics where it's like Black Panther and the Lexus, and it's like everybody's driving a Lexus. And it's like, yeah, you could afford a Lexus, right? But they're gonna throw this car in there that no, like it's gonna cost the same as the budget of the movie just to buy that car. No one is buying that car.
Oh.
Anyway. But yeah, no, like I said, I enjoyed it, and it was one of those things I walked out of, and I was like, I would like to see that again. Like, I would like to see that again. And there was a lot of stuff, like, for instance, one thing I hated in Age of Ultron was when they're levitating the island or whatever, and there's like and there's the machine,
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to stop the robots from attacking the machine, and the robots are just swarming, and they're all just kind of sitting there, just throwing random stuff at blue screen, just waiting for something to be CGI'd in front of their hands, and you see the robots whizzing past, and it's like, if they're trying to get to that, all they have to do is tackle Scarlet Witch. They could just tackle Scarlet Witch into that thing and it's going to blow up. Like it was the most, it doesn't work. Like, it just doesn't work having these robots flying around. One of those robots could just get kind of close and explode, and destroy that thing. Like, it just didn't work. Whereas here, when they're fighting all the parademons inside the nuclear reactor, they made very clear to give you a couple scenes where you see Flash doing this, you see Batman doing that, you see Superman doing this, but you never show the whole fight going on, right? So you there's always that out that you can say, well, maybe they were distracted by all the other guys, so they weren't paying attention to Cyborg messing with this little thing down here, because that would be the thing that they would swoop in on,
I think that Whedon was just trying to top that tracking shot from the first Avengers, because that one's hard to top. When they're tracking through Manhattan and they're following one Avenger after another, it's like it starts with Widow, goes to Iron Man, and then Iron Man does like the ultimate alliance attack with Cap, and then flies up the building, runs into Hawkeye, and then they track the arrow. I remember this by heart because I've seen it so many times. But I think that was Whedon trying to outdo himself in Age of Ultron. It didn't really work, but I understand that criticism of that particular film, but I think that's like the weakest of all of the examples. So like, it's a low, again, I hate to use the lowest bar to try to, to try to compare things to, when it comes to Justice League.
Well, one thing that I really enjoyed was the way that they used Flash, because he was so young and so new to being a superhero and everything, and awkward around everybody else. There's the scene with Commissioner Gordon where they all disappear. He's like, oh, that's so rude. Sorry about that. Runs off. There's the scene where they're all fighting, Superman, and he's, speed running, and you see Superman turn to look at him.
Yeah.
Obviously in the high speed, and he just has that look, and that was a moment of brevity that the scene needed.
Mm-hmm.
The movie needed that lightheartedness, but it also works with the way that they've done Flash,
right?
With that. And that was one of those, for only the few people that were in the movie theater when I was there, everybody was laughing, like that is a scene that totally works, totally sticks with you. The part at the end where you see Flash and Superman getting ready to have that iconic race,
right?
It's showing that when you take something like Man of Steel, that was very dark, and then you had Batman versus Superman that starts out dark and then kind of works its way through it and kind of ends like sad but hopeful. And then you have this movie that starts out again dark and sad, but then by the end it's humorous and they're having fun and they're working through, like, it's showing the mood kind of shifting, working its way through those movies. And it's kind of a progression. One of the things I think it was Civil War. Is that the one? They're like fighting out in the forest. All the Avengers are fighting in the forest, and they're trying to get to like the castle.
No, that's Age of Ultron.
That's Age of Ultron. And so they all like jump forward at the exact same moment, and there's like that slow down like shot of them all at the same time. And I remember watching that in the theater and just being like, "Oh my gosh,
that's
like,
Whedon
seriously?"
again. That's Whedon again.
But like I hate that is like so cheesy cornball.
That was totally Whedon. Couple things. One, I found myself in the middle of the zombie Superman scenes, just yelling out. I actually said out loud, and a couple of people in the theater like were patting me on the shoulder. I said, "Martha, just say it. Somebody say it."
But it wouldn't work for him.
But
it wouldn't work for him. It worked for Batman because Batman's mom was dead.
So just say it, people.
But it doesn't work that way.
Well, you kind of knew by that point. It was like, wait, they had a secret weapon. You kind of knew who it was going to be.
Yeah.
Kind of there. Speaking of the Superman thing, how did anyone think that was that the way you thought it was going to bring him back?
In the concept of the movie films, it works because they've already used the chamber.
Exactly.
So
how they power
makes
the chamber, yeah.
like it already exists, like it works. So as far as like bringing that in as a plot point, that's not a big stretch. I didn't see it coming because I thought at the end of Batman versus Superman, you see a little bit of the dirt, raise off of the coffin, like it's shaking or whatever. I thought they were going to dig up the coffin, open it up, and he wasn't in there.
Right.
Is what I was expecting.
Wait,
and he was.
Wait. Let's just stop very quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. Wasn't that kind of morbid? That whole like grave robbing scene? Like, what the hell are they doing? Why they?
But that's why they referenced it. That's
why are they going in slow motion? Why can't Flash just like go?
Well, I thought about that because they wanted to set up.
Well, that's what he said. No, but he said that they metaed that scene. They totally explained it.
Yeah,
because he said it would feel wrong to use my powers to do something like that. It's more
period to do it. Yeah,
it would be disrespectful in that way to do it. Is what he. And so they meted that scene. They explained it in that scene.
Goodness.
Why were you paying attention to the dialogue?
I was, and I was listening to it. I was like, that makes no sense. Just hurry up and do the grave robbing.
That makes more sense than the setup in Civil War of going to fight the rest of the Winter Soldier subjects in that mountain fortress only to get there and have them already be dead. Like that was such a complete letdown at the end of that movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because that was the twist. That was a weird twist. Yeah, that was a weird twist. I have to agree with you on that. I was looking forward to that showdown. But no, in all seriousness,
and the movie itself is only about 2 hours. It's shorter than Batman versus Superman, and for me, it didn't feel long. I had no problem with because again, I like the emotional draw of it, and at one point, my son was kind of like, when it's Superman and Lois, and they're in the cornfield, they're kissing, and the mom drives up, and and he's just like, anytime people kiss, first of all, my son's 12, so he's always like, people kissing, he can't watch. But for him, that kind of stuff is like, but for me, like I like that emotional stuff that's in the film, and I thought that the acting from everybody, doing all of that stuff, dealing with the death and the resurrection, and having to fight through it and figure your way through it and whatever. I thought all that stuff worked. I thought it was great. Oh, and the other thing, I had heard someone had said they had used CGI on Cavill's face.
On his lip.
But from what I thought it was just a mustache that he had. Like he was filming another movie, so he couldn't shave it off, but they needed to do some pickup shots and whatever. Right. So apparently it's not every scene, it's just some of the scenes, but I thought it was just a mustache. So I was looking for it on his face, and I couldn't
notice the fuzzy. You didn't notice the fuzzy scene?
Nothing stood out to me.
When he first showed up, you could kind of tell like there was something like really strange in his face. It was almost like the Hunter Smith battle, almost as bad as the CGI on that. It just looks just completely like whether you knew he had a mustache in the first place or not, it just looked weird around that area.
Yeah, I didn't notice it immediately, but it got more apparent as he had more scenes.
Well, apparently it's not the entire movie. It's not everywhere in the movie. It's only certain parts.
You can kind of tell where spots where it looks kind of off than not.
But see, to me, I was trying to look for it and I couldn't see it. So
it's just like a weird, like you get a sense, like kind of like what Roddy was saying. You kind of get a sense that there's like a vagueness about the definition about, like just around his mouth. That's what you see. Like you just sense it, like as you see his face turn towards you. So, I guess that's what I noticed. I'd have to give it another watch to really, kind of pick apart the CGI. But I noticed it slightly. It wasn't a big deal for me.
It was just as weird looking at Loki coming on the screen on Thor Ragnarok. Not to move it to that movie, but because it was like, wow, does he look weird and old and weirdly really painted or something? And that's not saying that anything was going on with that one, but it was like there was just something that just looked really weird.
With the makeup, maybe, yeah.
And I still haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so.
I was about to say, watching the Infinity War trailer spoils a little bit of Ragnarok for you. Like, there's some parts of that won't make sense without having seen Ragnarok.
No.
But did anybody see it in 3D? Because I saw it in 2D. I didn't see
I
it.
did see it in 3D.
2D.
I saw it in 3D.
How, 3D look good?
That's when the fuzziness of the lip comes in.
Oh.
It was okay. It was okay. But like I said, you know, it was just such a subdued reaction. Like the crowd just had a subdued reaction. I had a subdued reaction. So you know, it was an okay, you know, viewing. You know, it was an okay movie. I enjoyed it for what it was. I just wasn't, you know, I wish I had been, I wanted to be more entertained by it than what I was. So I guess I'm in the consensus, like I was saying earlier.
Well, like again, going back to like the reviews on it are bad, but the cinema score is a B+. Rotten Tomatoes is a 4.1 out of 5. I mean, that's good. Like that is more people like it and like it more than they dislike it. You know, so it is, you know, as far as metrics are concerned, it's a good movie. And so for a lot of these people that, you know, are constantly like trying to find, oh, it's, you know, the worst movie of the year. What? Shut up.
Oh, it's not.
It's like,
no, it's not the worst movie. It's just like I said. It was just, to me, the word I use is underwhelming because I wanted to be overwhelmed. So
see, and like I said, I liked it probably for not being as overwhelming as like an Avengers, Civil War, you know, those movies.
I mean, I thought they did pretty good for the time they had with it. Like you could kind of see they were still in the throes of kind of getting it together real fast. So I thought in that point they did all right. You know, they're still building, but they're working it.
I think one thing they needed to explain better was once the 3 mother boxes were brought together, there had to be some sort of process to re-energize them, release the energy, prep them for, you know, the job of rebuilding the world, whatever it was that Steppenwolf had to do. Like he had some pillar thing that he had built that he puts them in, and then the pillar thing kind of melts and it like refines them, whatever, and then they come out, they're ready to go. But they didn't explain any of that.
What I thought, what I needed was, I guess having the foundation of, you know, like the history of the comics. I never understood mother boxes to be that precious or that rare. I thought they were relatively common, and to have, you know, the mother box be like the end, you know, like kind of be like the Deus ex machina of the whole thing, right?
Well, so here's the problem. The mother box is about the size of the Tesseract cube. And so once Marvel had the Tesseract cube, then they had to do something else.
Yeah, but the mother box, the way I remember, was something you could strap to your arm or strap to your hip.
No, it was a cube like a little bigger than a Rubik's.
Right, but I remember seeing it like strapped to people's arms, like, you know, like Orion or you know, like older New God stuff, that, or maybe from the 80s. That's how I saw it depicted.
Okay, I still don't understand then.
No, I mean, my point is they were more run of the mill.
Well, it was every New God had one.
Right.
It was kind of like a Tron identity disc, right? So everybody had one, and it was their way of communicating with, you know, back home, whatever, their connection to the source. And it was their mode of transportation, their mode of communication. It was basically Jack Kirby coming up with cell phones, you know, the smartphones long before they existed.
Right.
And so, yeah, but they were never, it was like never common to Earth. It was common to them. And so you'd have these like fleeting connections between the fourth world and Earth, but it was never really, it's not like Thor came to Earth and lived on Earth. You know, it's not like Orion would come to Earth and live on Earth, you know, any type of thing. It was like people like Superman, you know, could go back and forth, but nobody else, you know, really could. It'd be rare for other people to, you know, to go there and to come back and, you know, if it's in a pocket dimension or, you know, whatever, it's far into space. However, it, you know, depending on the writer, it would kind of change over time. But yeah, it was never that it was always a powerful energy source that would come out of it, but it was powerful to humans, not to them, because they are gods. So it's not as big of a deal. So maybe the idea that he has 3 of them together makes it such a potent thing. Not just the fact that it's a mother box, but it's 3 mother boxes that he somehow found a way to fuse together to make this, you know, world builder engine, whatever it was. but going back to the point is he has to go through some sort of process to like refine them and rebuild them so they have time. So you have this explanation as to why they have the time that allows them to regroup, to come back together, to rebuild themselves, to then fly off and go fight. The problem is they don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at any moment this guy could start destroying the planet Earth, and they're like, well, okay, let's go talk to this guy. Okay, well, let's go deal with this. And it's like you got to stop the thing from just like, you don't know. It's like I guess they're just waiting until things start exploding, and then they know, okay, now we're out of time, we got to go fight. But it just seemed like they needed, there was a sense of urgency that was kind of missing from some of those later scenes. It's like, you got to get there and stop this death world end apocalypse thing, and you're not doing it. Like, go, like, just and they weren't.
They didn't have any urgency,
right? And it's like they kind of answered it by saying like nobody really thought they could win. Like nobody really wants to go fight because we're not going to come out of this thing. And they kind of hint at that, but it doesn't really, like, they needed to have more of a conversation there of like, either we got to go and stop this thing, or, what's the point? We can't win. And instead they kind of danced around it a little bit. And I don't know if that is also switching Snyder to Whedon, the flow of some of that stuff gets kind of played with and mixed around, and, who knows, but that was one of the things that kind of bothered me as we got towards that conclusion. Once they got there, though, I loved the fight. I loved, that whole thing at the end.
Would you be willing to sit through the original Zack Snyder cut?
From what I understand, not enough of it exists to make a full movie. But if they put like a half hour of, his outtakes and his alternate versions and whatever, and threw it on the disc, then yeah, I'd probably watch it.
Which you got to think they're probably going to do.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was reading something online that it wasn't close enough to being finished that they could then, release it like what they did with Batman versus Superman Extended Edition. They can't do that with a Zack Snyder cut because some of the stuff just wasn't filmed. Some of the stuff was never completed. Because of whatever his family issues were that he had to leave for.
Yeah, it's not. So, I guess speaking of conclusion, so Tim, you've been pretty quiet. You got anything to add? But I wanted to also ask about the two end scenes. How'd y'all think about those? But I wanted to, since Tim's kind of been, want to see if you had something to say. Wanted to add.
I thought the movie was fine. It wasn't bad. It wasn't perfect, which is fine. I think DC / Warner Brothers took the right steps to sort of course correct and put quote unquote more hope into their universe. The execution may not have been the smoothest, but like I said, in the long run, I think it'll be good for them. Any other highlights that jumped out at me? I was just thinking it'd be nice if these DC movies had some spectacular fight sequences to remember. And then I remember, I guess Man of Steel technically did have that, as Superman and Zod wrecked Metropolis. Those were pretty cool scenes to watch. Steppenwolf as a villain was fine. He at least was able to take out the Amazons, so we did see some fighting there.
I like showing the Green Lantern in the far past.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought they could do more with that, though.
No, they just had to tease it, had to show us they exist in the universe.
It's like, don't forget about these guys. They're coming back in another movie, but we don't want to hit you too hard with it because we all remember what happened last time.
Yep. It also has me wondering. So you mentioned the credit scenes. I'm gonna jump to the second one and just say, I wonder if they're already like pivoting away from Darkseid and trying to set up what was teased as the big bad or bads.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was like Thanos was the teaser of the first Avengers, but it's taken how many movies to circle back to him?
True.
They don't need to do anything else with Darkseid for a while.
We haven't seen Darkseid one iota. We've seen the Omega symbol a couple of different times, but we haven't actually seen Darkseid.
forgive me for maybe misremembering, but is it a comic story or is it an animated a cartoon story where the Justice League and the Injustice League or the Legion of Doom have to team up to fight Darkseid? Isn't that from the animated series?
The last episode of Justice League,
right?
Unlimited.
And I have a feeling that that's where they're going.
Hope they have them fight first.
Yeah, I mean I think that's.
I'm sure they would. Yeah.
I think that's how it played out.
Yeah, if
So
some news that we got are true, they're going to be setting up the Injustice Gang or Legion of Doom, whichever one, in whatever next couple of movies that they're doing.
Okay, I was gonna say I hope they're going to set them up in these solo movies that they got planned.
Yeah,
Deathstroke appears in this movie because he's supposed to be in the Batman movie. The Batman standalone film is supposed to be Batman versus Deathstroke.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Whenever they get that strand out.
Yeah.
There was some line when they're all in the under the lake base.
Under the sea. No, I'm kidding.
And Batman says something. I'm trying to remember what it is, but to me it sounded like he was talking about parallel Earths. And I'm trying to remember what the line was. But he says something that to me sounded like they were planting a seed for like a flashpoint or a crisis or something like that, where he says something about like, there's some other world or some other version of the world where the hope does exist or something like that. He said something along those lines that made me think, oh, so they can do a parallel Earth story.
Well, I mean, like the Flashpoint, that's what supposedly the Flash's movie is supposed to be. So, I mean, yeah, that could very well be an allusion to that.
Yeah. All right. Well, my time's about up here, guys. I got to run. It's 9:30 here. So.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to jump into the Infinity War stuff if you have like a snippet to talk about that.
I saw the trailer for the first time right before we went live. It's obvious that they're not selling that movie on the story. It's obviously they're not selling that movie on the villain. The only thing that they're using to sell that movie is the fact that we're throwing everybody you've ever seen in a movie into this movie.
They're basically saying it's all coming down to this part or to this, or whatever.
It's like here's Thanos, so you can see him and you can all go, okay, now I have to Google Purple California Raisin Guy Marvel Universe, try to figure out what his deal is, and he looks wrong without his helmet. By the way, I'll throw that out there.
Well, I mean, a picture of him looking like Homer Simpson with a donut.
People are crazy with that Photoshop. But check it real quick, Dirt, before you go. Just a couple things. One, and we'll talk about this more, I guess. Once you have to finally bounce. But didn't it feel nice that they're actually drawing partially upon the Infinity storyline? It seems like it looks like they're drawing on Infinity as much as they're drawing on Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, I want Adam Warlock before they tell that story. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I need an Adam Warlock and a Silver Surfer, and this Marvel universe isn't there yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's sticky with the Surfer. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, gotta run.
Thanks, Doug.
See you guys. Thanks for having me back. I'll see you again sometime. Bye, everybody.
Yay! Peace out to PCN_Dirt.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're gonna transition right into the Infinity War trailer. With I didn't want to rub it in too hard to Dirt, but I thought that this 2-minute and 20-second some odd trailer entertained me so much more than Justice League.
that's a consensus that here includes myself.
Like I was so much more entertained by this 2-minute trailer.
It was pretty good.
Man, yeah, like they had the little bit of the Avengers score in there. They had the, I guess, the quote unquote gravity of the situation. They had the hey, guess what? Remember all that stuff that happened in these other movies?
It all counts.
All coming down. Yeah, it's all connected. It's all coming to this. So it was great. We didn't get that much more Wakanda, but we know certain things about. We know certain things are gonna happen.
Well, a couple things. You know that we still have the Black Panther movie in between, so they probably showed a lot more of Wakanda than I thought we'd ever expect them to show ahead of the Black Panther movie.
I mean, because that last trailer for Black Panther kind of showed a good bit. This is them kind of, like, hey, this is there.
Listen, I know I tweeted this before. I love the reference. You did not know you wanted a Wakandan battle of the Pelennor Fields, a la Lord of the Rings, until you saw this trailer, and you're like, you know what? I do need that, because everyone charging across the field. It's like you can hear, even though I'm kind of mixing Lord of the Rings movies, you can kind of hear whatchamacallit, Carl Urban's character yelling out, "To the king!" and everyone goes charging across like in Two Towers.
I'm sure there's one of the Dora Milaje is probably gonna there's gonna be a battle yell somewhere before that happens. So
for God's sake, Russo brothers, can you give me an Avengers Assemble in this, please, 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 please?
Avengers 4.
That's when they're gonna do it, right?
I mean, either here or there is more likely to happen, especially since they're doing both.
Yeah, it had to be Avengers 4 because that'll be when everyone's together at once. Because it's obvious they're doing the infinity of splitting the teams up, having an Earth-based team and a space team. Space team going out.
As a part, they're not doing a part 1, part 2 thing anymore, though. So, but we still don't necessarily know.
Yeah, but it's sort of play out like that.
Yeah,
they just don't want to say that it's part 1 and part 2.
Well, it's something, the Earth either gets blown up and then recreated in Infinity War, or it doesn't actually get blown up, since we have Ant-Man and the Wasp taking place, and Black Panther. Well, I think Black Panther's before. Never mind. Ant-Man and the Wasp is after.
I think Avengers 4 is probably going to be like an aftermath movie, though.
No, I think that's going to be the finale, because
when they kill everyone and people retire, and
exactly like whoever dies in 4.
It sounds like they're doing that for this, if rumors are kept up. But like, the trailer in itself was great. We definitely saw what looks to be some semblance of the Black Order in a shot or two.
Yeah, apparently Proxima Midnight. I had to slow it down. Right? Apparently there's a quick flash of Proxima Midnight when she's throwing her spear, and I did slow it down to catch a glimpse of the character, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Which kind of makes me worried about something going forward, but we're going to get Black Panther before that, so I'm not, I'm kind of curious as the state of Wakanda after Infinity War. I'm also thinking
without Namor.
Basically, yeah. Or just gets messed up either way. But I'm also wondering, like, there are some of the pieces in place. I'm wondering if we're getting in or if we could get the Illuminati, because there's enough people to do that, to set that up, and that way at least some people can. And there are people's contracts that are kind of coming up, but they can still kind of pop in and out, and some of them are, but we still could get the Illuminati from it.
Yeah, they can do a modified version without Black Bolt and Professor X.
Yeah.
Why not?
That up.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else.
Marvel's good at doing the superhero shots. People running towards the screen type deal. Or, circular view. Which is cool.
Sweeps. Yeah, they're just sweeping across a thing, or some people.
So when you were watching this and you saw the new version of how they're portraying the spider sense, did you actually say out loud, "Oh, spider sense," or you were just like, "Oh"?
Yeah, I was kind of like, "Huh, okay, there's spider sense." So
if I hadn't seen the leaked footage from San Diego Comic-Con and stuff, I would have been surprised.
Oh, okay.
It's still cool to see.
Yeah. Because I know
clear HD.
Yeah.
There was an article saying that was like, there's some stuff that was in that San Diego.
They changed the whole trailer up, more or less, which is fine. I heard someone saying that the stuff they show at the Comic Cons and whatnot usually is just made just for the fans.
Sure.
So it's not meant to come out anyway.
I mean, even with trailers, like some of the stuff might be like just like in Justice League. Actually, going back to that for a quick second, like there's some stuff that was in the Justice League trailers that didn't show up in the movie at all. So I mean, sure, there's always some stuff that's going to be just there for that.
Yeah. But this definitely showed off stuff people not mentioning recognizing characters missing from the trailer.
Oh yeah,
right.
Definitely. Hello, Clint Barton. Where are you? Come in, Clint Barton.
Yeah, which
Ant-Man.
we know there, but yeah, we don't know what capacity.
Right. So, we're trying to figure out a couple things. Obviously, I love that one of the main speaking roles in this is T'Challa, and he's like, evacuate the city, engage all defenses, and get this man a shield.
Yo, get your stuff together. Get your stuff together. What are you doing?
It's too funny.
Good stuff.
So yeah, I'm just as much looking forward to it as I was already. But we got one more movie before that, which I'm still looking forward to a little bit more.
Oh, because you want to see if they can, how they pull off, whatchamacallit, the story and the gold, the golden opponent. That's actually, unfortunately, that's what I'm kind of dreading. Like, I really hope that it looks distinct on the screen. That it's just not like, kind of muddy.
Yeah.
But that's, hopefully that'll be a minor quibble.
Oh, Tim.
Yes.
We can bring this up while we're here. Since did have it later, but we can bring it up here. Tim did an article on a part of the trailer, which actually there's been a few though, because there was obviously like 2 or 3 about the Spider Sense, and then there was some stuff about this and there, and stuff that supposedly people missed and whatnot. All those that happen every now. But you did an article on one specific aspect. You want to talk about it?
The Cap shield, or so we heard T'Challa point off camera and tell someone to get that man a shield, which we know is going to be Steve Rogers, looking very nomadish. But if you slow down the already slowed down Secret Avengers unit running towards the screen on Wakanda, or in Wakanda, you kind of notice, if you look at Cap's wrists, he's got these kind of twin gauntlets on each wrist, which could just be sort of like a weapon finding device, but it also could, maybe if you put them together, form a small sort of triangular shield similar to what he used in Captain America Steve Rogers series from last year or this year. So possible. Some people also speculated about it could be an energy shield.
Yeah,
that's what I was. Yeah.
So there you see him. He's armored up.
There it is.
Yeah.
And
so there's lots of theories to.
And it's cool to see Michonne from The Walking Dead running with them too. It's like, where's your katanas, Michonne? Oh,
yeah. People were asking me. I was like, why is the Widow's hair blonde? I'm saying like they just didn't care anymore.
She's undercover.
I don't know why she would have to be at this point, but yeah. But yeah, trailer's great. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Definitely check it out.
Pretty much.
So now I guess we're done with that, or we're transitioning on because we got a good bit to go through.
Yeah, we can move on. I don't think there's too much to hash over this, because we didn't talk about the stinger to the trailer, which is hysterical. There's actually a stinger to this trailer, because it goes to black, and then all of a sudden we get Thor.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
and we have him run into the Guardians. So,
Which yeah, I saw a theory about that too. Apparently, but I guess that it could be valid. You know, saying something about he's going to run into them, but basically Captain Marvel is going to be the link to get them all working together or something. I don't know.
back to Earth,
Yeah,
possibly. That's not a bad theory because she's going to show up in 4. And maybe that's how the two teams link up, you know, like the Earthbound and like the Guardians and Thor in space.
right. Well, actually, she might show up here and that be the case. I'm not sure. Like, you know, we know her movie is going to be taking place in the past, so they could just like, was like, hey, guess what? I was already here, which they've already said,
Mm.
and you know, helping out.
Right. Well, we shall see. And I'm wondering when Spidey decides to go pick up the Iron Spider suit.
Oh, that was the other thing. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, people were wondering about that. I was like, yeah, that's actually it looks like a combination of his new suit and Iron Spider.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way it showed off.
But it's like, when does he go pick it up? Because it's upstate the last time we saw it.
Well, maybe he doesn't have to because I mean, in Homecoming he did get that
Suit?
He got the case. Like maybe it's a transforming one or something. Like maybe it's just a mode.
Ah, interesting.
Because he's already got the AI in the suit he already has. And it has like bunches of capabilities that got opened up. So,
Right. Maybe the suit that he got in the paper bag was
Right.
actually an Iron Spider suit.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Or it's the suit and it's just gonna just like glaze over and armor up or something. Yeah.
right. That's not a bad theory. I like that theory because that makes a lot of sense. Because that would save him a freaking trip upstate. he'd have to get in a car and be like, hey, I got to go pick that up. I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to be one of Tony's suits and it's just going to web swing to him or something.
Although I wouldn't put that past him.
Yeah, there is that.
So, all right, Tim. So, if you're not up to, if you feel like it's time to bounce, more than okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bounce. Appreciate y'all having me on for the trailer and movie discussion of the night.
Yeah, man, I was excited to do it. I'm glad we finally did it because we had a chance to hash it out. I've been dying to kind of discuss Justice League with, with someone with more DC knowledge than I.
Oh yes,
Good.
Y'all at home continue with listening and watching the show, and we'll see you back. Well, I will see you back next week.
All right, peace out, Tim.
Peace.
All right, so now this is the part of the time where we get to books, and I guess since it's the two of us, we can kind of just go ahead and rapid fire this. And
Yes.
we got 2 weeks worth of books.
Yes, we will rapid fire. So let's start with last week's books, the week of the 24th.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if you read anything that I read for last week.
But if you want to go ahead and get,
You didn't read Black Panther, or you did?
yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So let's just talk about that. So, it was interesting to go down to kind of explore the untold history of Wakanda.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of this. I got out of this story.
Which when Shuri came back into the fold with her new knowledge and powers, you kind of knew that was going to play in at times, and this is one of those times where that's starting to play in because it's helping with the enemy they're facing now, or partially with the enemy they're facing now, not necessarily because what they thought was the case originally apparently is not necessarily the case, and it's Claw, but they're still needed some knowledge to kind of, I guess, before going into that. The thing I thought interesting about this particular story, especially in the time that it came, is the parallel to Thanksgiving.
Oh, of course.
And the founding of Wakanda paralleling, the founding, quote unquote, of America, and
right. It's always on the backs of others. Most civilizations are built on, unfortunately, the backs of people who are stepped on. People are climbing. Somehow someone has to climb the ladder. So
And I say Thanksgiving is not his event, but the time that this story that came around just so happened to, you know.
Exactly. And it also ties into the supernatural aspects of the story that Coates is telling about, you know, about how the gods have kind of deserted the people of Wakanda. And, you know, it all sort of it all circles back to that as well, and reestablishes the you know, the links to Bast and, you know, some of these other Wakandan deities that, you know, have played major roles in the story. So
Who were men who ended up with the power of the gods in kind of way, or, you know, or yeah, with the mythos of God.
right.
God in the world way. Which I was like, okay, that you see a little bit of the long game going on here, and it was appreciated. But, you know, not even a but we see also Thunderball, like they're using Thunderball, you know, and I kind of appreciate that, because it was like it's kind of giving a new wrinkle to that character. Like, we don't know to what end that's going to be, but they basically specifically said it was like, you know, this could be, you know,
Redemption.
there was some redemption. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but they don't really trust him, but they're going to use him for whatever you use him for, or not, you know, for right now.
Okay.
But I thought that was a good thing they were doing that, because like that character was already showing signs of, you know, like that he could be a better used and better utilized character, especially with his genius.
Sure.
With
It had always been hinted at, even in stories where, you know, it's usually just the wrecking crew being kind of patsies for an Avengers team. Let's say, you know, Thunderball was always the wisest of the bunch. You know, even though the Wrecker was the most powerful with the most powerful weapon, you know, it was always Thunderball that, you know, kind of planned a lot of their activities. So, you know, it's nice to see that they're looking to redeem this particular character.
Yeah, which again, I said this before, so I won't go back. This was something that was said in Illuminati a couple of years, was it last year, a couple of years back? You know, by Thunderball, it was like, you know, I'm just as smart as any of those folks, so I should be up there with them. It kind of, you didn't necessarily say that last part, but it was kind of the, you know,
yeah,
kind of implied that he would say something like that. So, like I said, it is good to see that somebody picked up on that, if they did pick up on that, but somebody picked up on that and decided to use it for whatever reason. So,
alrighty. You want to pick a book? You've got a few more than I, so.
To have a Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur 25. You didn't read that one? I'm kind of surprised.
Gosh, sorry.
No, that's okay. So, Lunella is without Devil Dinosaur and has been, and this is another one of those slightly thoughtful, introspective issues. But we have the appearance of the Thing and Human Torch, soon to headline their own book pretty soon, coming to Lunella to give her some old stuff of reads, one of which includes Herbie.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I assume something's going to happen with that. But the crux of the story is them coming along, basically Johnny getting into his feelings about, like, nobody wants to, you know, nobody knows the Fantastic Four wants them around anymore. So he's all up in his feelings about that, which slightly in a way mirrors a thought or two of Lunella's about her place, you know, being alone and not having, you know, not have anyone around anymore, because she had Devil Dinosaur, but that was what it was. No one that understood her, and no one to actually really care so much. She even goes so far as to say, like, yeah, she tried to look for Reed Richards, which we know that that's going to be a storyline that is coming up in Ben and Johnny's book, I believe. Might even be in here also. I'm not sure, but
might be on the periphery of it, right? Maybe involved on the periphery of the search,
right?
You know, because she's one of, you know, she's the smartest person now. So,
so the rest of the issue is basically them talking about that, and then Lunella showing them, basically telling them is like I said, trying to find Reed Richards, but she couldn't find him. But the next time they see each other, which they happen to go to Lunella's school to look for her for some reason because they want, which they never really got to. I don't remember. And when they're interrupted by one Silver Surfer, who comes with a message, but not only does he come with a message, oddly enough, he comes with the Galactus, and now Lifebringer,
right?
Which I thought the Surfer's characterization, actually, there was a the Surfer's characterization in itself seemed a little weird in this issue. As was Thing in Human Torch's, dealings with him, because it was like, okay, why are you just gonna, like, y'all have been friends? He comes along, he says this, which doesn't sound right. Then y'all start a fight, and then Lunella breaks it up, and then which seems to happen around her, because like even the last time when Ben and Amadeus Cho showed up, it was like, okay, like they got into a fight, and then she had to break it up, and then
they have to show her as the level-headed one always.
Yeah, basically. So, but it just so happened that she broke it up, and then right after that, Galactus shows up. So then that ended the issue. Like, overall, it was a good issue. It was kind of fun in spots, but it was like part of it seemed a little weird.
Maybe mischaracterized. I'm gonna have to read this and see how that reads.
Yeah.
All right, so let me throw out a book here. Thanos number 13. It is the start of a storyline called Thanos Wins. This is definitely a good entry point for readers who are looking to kind of study up on the character of Thanos, and it's a good, or Thanos. It's a good. I think it's Thanos actually, but because it's actually a Greek name, believe it or not. I have a buddy who named his kid Thanos. I'm like, why would you curse your kid with this name?
Kevin Smith named his kid Harley Quinn.
That's true. So getting back to this book, it's definitely a good jumping on point for readers who are only maybe vaguely familiar with the character of Thanos. We actually see him get kind of connect with the MCU / Marvel Universe version of the Chitauri, because now they're sort of one and the same. And there's an appearance in this issue by a character who Donny Cates, a former guest of the show, introduces in this as a Ghost Rider. But he also mentions that this particular version of the Ghost Rider may be familiar to us, so we may know this character as somebody else. Kind of psychopathic, kind of not all there. And this particular version of Ghost Rider is serving a master, and I won't spoil exactly where this goes, but there is some time travel involved, and it's actually a fairly interesting read. It's not bad for a first, for it's fairly new reader friendly. That's what I was looking for. So if you're looking for kind of a new place to jump on and read about what Thanos is up to in the Marvel Universe, I definitely would recommend this book, because it definitely is entertaining. It reads with a little bit of a twist at the end, because there is a twist at the end on the cliffhanger page. So give it a shot. It's actually pretty entertaining.
Thanos and Ghost Rider, that seems weird enough.
Yeah, it's definitely out of the ordinary. It's definitely out of the blue. So, if you have an opportunity over the weekend between this week and next to read it, it does read fairly quickly. Luckily the art is rock solid. So, you won't be distracted by it. It's solid. Jeff Shaw, I'm not familiar with this artist, but his work on this is top notch.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Well, next up for me. I kind of wish Tim was here, but I don't know if he read it or not. Teen Titans 14.
Okay.
So this was the continuation of the previous issue where Red Arrow, aka Emiko Queen, and Robin try to basically team up against Onomatopoeia, but things, even though they won the fight, they lost because he had already set up some stuff in motion that caused a tidal wave to come barreling towards Star City. So they, being on their flying bat thing, try to stop it, but they can't. So they call in the rest of the Titans, who are with Kid Flash, aka Black Wild West, excuse me, but who are basically talking with him at the time that he's being called. And weirdly enough, Robin is strangely human, because when he calls him, he's like, look, I know I'm not the best person. Like, I know I'm not the person y'all want to really talk to, and I know I'm this and that and other, but I really need your help. Like, he's actually asking for help, which is uncharacteristic for him. So the call got put out, and everybody rushes to help him, including Kid Flash, who they end up having a nice little quick team up against Onomatopoeia after the tidal wave gets stopped, which was cool. And you know, after everything's said and done, a nice little, if you've seen the CB Caps Instagram account, I posted a page from there, which is actually the last page, but you know, the context in which Robin is struck speechless because something happens with him and Red Arrow, which I thought was kind of cute. So for that, it was a pretty cool read, and outside of him being slightly human, you know, ahead of it. So it was a good read though, and real quick.
All right. The last book I have for last week is Doomsday Clock #1. This is the much anticipated sequel to Watchmen, and it definitely does read like a sequel to the Watchmen, because we find ourselves in neck deep in a story involving Rorschach. Now, we don't know. We definitely suspect that this is not the original Rorschach that we had been following in the first Watchmen, and we're introduced to a couple of new characters who are brought in, I guess to add to the story. They're criminals that Rorschach is recruiting, and we find out that Rorschach is actually working with none other than, spoiler bell, even though it is from last week. We find out that this version of Rorschach is working with Ozymandias, of all people. So ultimately, where we find ourselves is at the end of the issue, tying the Watchmen continuity into, or at least sowing the seeds for the tying into of the Watchmen continuity into the DC continuity. It happens at the very, very end of the issue. So a lot of this book is basically setting up the aftermath of the Watchmen miniseries, and we only at the very end get to the soon to be established tie-in into the DC universe proper.
Okay. Technically,
that's it for me for last week.
Yeah, technically I've done 3, but I want to give a shout out to a book though, since we kind of tag team Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Clue number 6. This was the last issue of that book, and it went out. It actually went out fairly different from what you would think it would have. So if you've not read the story, and I don't know too many people who did, so this is a comic book telling of a board game,
right?
Hence the name. there was also some, especially in this issue, and I think the first one, there was a couple of good, or at least one or two, which now to think about it, I totally forgot to post, good references to the movie. One particular reference to the movie that I know PC and underscore Dirt would appreciate. So I kind of wish he was here for that one. I don't know if he'd read it or not, but there was one reference that I expected to see, and I saw it, even though it wasn't at the time that you expected. But again, this book was kind of subverting your expectations. I will not spoil what happens at the end of it. All I will say that it did end up satisfying. Whatever. I can't speak right now, but I do know words, I promise. Either way, it ended out great. And I was about to say I probably couldn't talk about it because I'd end up being killed.
Oh no. Okay.
If you go by what happens at the end of the book, then yeah. But like I said, it was an interesting way they chose to end it. Much less, there was some shades of. No, actually, wasn't even that many more shades of the movie. Outside of the reference that I said earlier, just minutes ago, but I thought I was like, okay, this was definitely different way to go about things than you've actually seen in any iteration of Clue.
Okay,
much because there's not been that many, but nevertheless, I thought it was a good turn. So go check it out if you're a fan of Clue and or the movie. Like I said, there's not that many references. It doesn't tie that close to the movie at all, but it's a good story around the game/movie. You should check it out.
All right. You want to move on to this week's books?
Yep.
All right. So as we move to this week's books, it looks like we do have one book in common between the two of us. And that is, surprisingly enough, neither a Marvel or DC book, but a Dynamite book.
Right.
It's a licensed book.
On Wick #1.
Hello, Mr. Vic. So Roddy and I did have a chance to discuss this while we were waiting for our co-host to get set up so that we could have our big bang, our big Justice League and Infinity War discussion. So this is actually a story that's told in flashback and helps to flesh out some of John Wick's origin story. And I love the structure and the story that Greg Pak has put in this. And I appreciate the story he's telling, but the art by Giovanni Valletta kind of took me out of my my comfort zone because it felt way too much like I hate, no offense, sir, you are a professional artist, but it felt too much like a tryout book.
And see, this is where we differ because I thought the art fit what they were trying to do, especially not necessarily going noir with the whole thing, but if you've seen John Wick, either of the movies, there is a style that movie has, a little bit gritty, a little bit lo-fi, but still effective in spots. And I thought that the art here worked to that same end.
Well, but at the same time, you could definitely see the influence, the heavy influence, and even Keanu Reeves would agree to this. The heavy influence of like Hong Kong cinema. We're talking like the shoot 'em ups from like the 80s and the 90s in the John Wick movies. And it's not necessarily a noir look, but there's definitely a darker feel, and I just was not overly impressed by the art, and I apologize. Like I said, it just didn't feel like this is a licensed book, and if I felt like there should have been more effort put into maybe making it a more detailed looking style of art. I picked up the Dennis Cowan, Bill Sienkiewicz alternate cover, and maybe that just kind of raised my expectations a little higher because this is pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Well, and one would argue that they don't really give licensed book a whole lot of. They give licensed book just enough to get by. I'm not saying that's going on here.
That's not always right. That's not all. Yeah, I actually, you're probably right with that, because sometimes the publishers aren't getting as much of the money because it's a license, because they're paying for the license.
Right. So they're just kind of like, all right, just put this back, put this out, and you see that in the video game licensed books more, like, even though some of them supposedly are all right. I would need to check out some of them, but yeah, licensed books don't necessarily get a whole heavy lot of budget, I guess you want to say. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but we got Greg Park on it, which is a great writer. I still think the art here works for this story. Like I said, the story, which I guess we could get into real quick, as you kind of alluded to, was early John. It's like, this seems like it's like, we know it's before the first movie, definitely.
Right.
We don't know necessarily how far. We know this is like, it could be like a few years, like probably a good 10, 15 years. We don't know necessarily, because what we see is a younger John Wick. There's a flashback to sometime earlier when he was
young. Right.
Yeah. With a crew that he was, I guess, running with, or whatever the case maybe, or running from, I guess, at that point, that he was around. And then one of them ends up coming back to the present tense of the story, and he ends up squaring off with them. Okay, yeah, Matt's got a point that I'm gonna bring up in a second. But yeah, we see him interacting with this person who finally recognizes, deal with them. He also runs into a younger Chiron, who I guess what it sounds like introduces them to the life that we know he gets into in the movies.
Right.
Or at least starts to, anyway. But also in the movies, as both of the movies have stated, there's always some Russians after him. So rest assured, this book is going to have some Russians trying to kill him in the same vein as the movies. So they're not really going...
Right, possibly cartel people too, because they are dealing with, the southwestern parts of the United States.
Right. But you still see some of the same beats as the movies. Like I said, Russians trying to kill him. There's a Continental, but in that place.
Right.
There's some protocol apparently.
Right. This may be, the introduction of the character to the network that is connected to all the various continentals around the world. So,
I think that was kind of said either both in this book and outside of the lead up to this book. So.
Right. So overall, I like the setup. I like the story. I'm a fan of Greg Pak. I'd be willing to I hate to say this. It sounds so elitist. I'd be willing to tolerate the art just so that I can read Pak's story, because I'm going to enjoy, it's because it is in a sense fleshing out the character story, because this is the stuff that we're not going to see in the movies. And, with the blessings of the characters' creators, Pak has some freedom to wheel and deal in the story. And that leads me into something that good old at Matt Wang 97 tweeted at us a few minutes ago about the licensed books and how much freedom they get to play around and how much the fees are. Because I guess there is a minimum guarantee to what the book is going to pay out to the licensor, the party licensing the property to the publisher. And there's in order to make a profit on the book, maybe they can't get the most established, they can't pay the highest page rate, to a certain artist.
Right.
So, but either way, I guess would you agree that this is a good start to a John Wick story?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, I'm actually kind of, I would say I'm kind of glad that that's probably won't be another movie, but we don't know there's not going to be another movie.
There's going to be another movie. There's going to be a John Wick 3.
More than likely.
This is how they ended too.
So what?
because of how they ended too.
True, it's true. But I think this makes for a good prequel / I guess kind of origin story. Does not necessarily. Well, I guess that we don't know. I guess we will get into that because this is only the first issue. This is a good prequel / origin story for this universe, which I know we do know they said that we're going to try to set up in this book. So it's cool. Like I'm looking forward to the next one.
All righty. So let me move on to
another book, and I need to go check out something real quick though. While you,
so I was about to say let me jump to another book because I don't think we have any other books in common this week. Spider-Gwen number 26, and I know that some people aren't the biggest fans of Robbie Rodriguez's art. I still dig it. It's just kinetic. It's it's gotten to a point where I can, my eye follows it easily because maybe I'm just used to it. But it's definitely got its quirks. And oh no. At Matt Wang 97, for goodness sake, it's always going to be a pet involved when it comes to John Wick. Check out his latest tweet. But getting back to Spider-Gwen number 26, this is the latest chapter in the Gwenom story. This is the this Earth's version, I think it's Earth 65. This version of the Venom symbiote and Spider-Gwen's dealings with it. This is actually a very entertaining story. It may not be completely new reader friendly because it definitely circles back to several characters who have played pivotal roles in Spider-Gwen's story up until now. So this may not be the best place to jump on. Several characters reappear after having been out of the loop or at least out of sight for a number of issues. But if you have been keeping up with this story and you understand that this is the Spider-Gwen, the Latour and Rodriguez version of Peter Parker kind of mining the depths of his darkness, but this being Spider-Gwen's version of that, then if you're into that idea of a story, you need to get on this now because this is actually really entertaining.
Huh. Yeah, I'm a few issues behind on Spider-Gwen, and I can't remember. Well, there was a couple of things that got me behind, and I was just reminded of one of them.
But this is definitely entertaining. Like I don't remember what exactly happened in the last issue. I'd have to dig up the back issue, but to be perfectly honest, I enjoyed reading this from front to back because it was just, pretty, it was pretty fun. There was a lot of stuff going on. And like I said, despite it not being new reader friendly, by it using a lot of characters kind of weaving the character storylines back into Spider-Gwen's story, kind of brought me back in. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is how this character kind of ties into this now. This is where they've been. This is how this is how they're going to move forward from here. So that definitely got me back grounded in the story. So I definitely appreciate this story for this issue for kind of getting me back into the fold.
Right. Cool.
What do you got?
Well,
at Matt Wang is waiting to hear about Darkhawk.
Yeah, he's gonna have to. Actually, I'm kind of surprised you didn't read that one.
Couldn't get to it.
Gotcha. Let's see. Talk about that. Secret Warriors number 9, which I know is another book that Matt actually likes because I think according to him, we got him into it. This another slightly fun issue. It starts off kind of weird because if you have kept up, you were like, wait a minute, did I miss something here and there? But now come to find out you didn't. It's just that the story takes place kind of at the end, but in the middle of the way the story's been going. So we find out part of the team, including Magic, has been taking kids who've been kidnapped by a dark beast back home to their families. Come to find out these kids are, well, we kind of knew this already, that these kids are Inhumans, including Inferno's niece, who I think is still captured now that I think about it. But so in the midst of them taking these kids home, there is a kind of a jump in time in here, because while they're taking the kids home, they kind of jump to another spot in time to where they're actually, it kind of goes back and then goes forward, because they're taking these kids home, and then Dark Beast shows up, and they get into a little scuffle because he's trying to find Karnak for Mr. Sinister, who shows up also in the midst of that little scuffle, leading them all, after Dark Beast and Sinister leaves, to find Karnak, because as we found out in issues past, Sinister and Karnak were working together to find another source of Terrigenesis.
Okay.
Yeah. So but we found out in this issue that, you know, once the team catches back up to Karnak, who's working for his cousin, who's Black Bolt's son, I guess. I'm not sure who did it. Yeah, Ahura. With his company, which that's kind of funny in itself, because there was a funny scene between them three when Karnak interrupts a board meeting for a specific reason that you'll have to read to find out why, but it ends up being kind of funny. It's like how that all works out. But anyway, come to find out that Karnak is not working with Sinister, and you know, some other things happen, but like I said, most of the issue is them trying to get these kids home, which ends up to when they take like the last kid home, they find out that that Sinister had some dealings. He did something seemingly with the kids that they didn't know about, or at least the one kid in particular. And the issue ends on the cliffhanger. But outside of that, like I said, the Secret Wars has been a consistently fun book, you know, even with everything going around it. And like I said, coming out of the whole Secret Empire thing, you weren't really sure what they were going to do with it. We still don't know how long this is going to last, but it's been a consistently fun book.
Cool. I need to catch up.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right.
Pretty interesting writing, or amusing writing, almost Al Ewing-esque.
Okay. All right. So I've only got one book left this week. It is Batman Annual #2. This is written by Tom King with art by Lee Weeks, and also by Michael Lark. So if you're familiar with these two artists, they keep a fairly consistent look between their two art styles. You know, these are not new kids on the block, no pun intended. We're not talking about the right stuff. We're talking about artists who in fact have, you know, complementary art styles. So Tom King is definitely leaning so hard into this story that he's telling in the main Batman book of Batman finally choosing to settle down, and you know, with one Selena Kyle, the Catwoman, and this particular annual is titled Date Nights and Last Rites, and you can kind of figure out where that, you know, just from that you can figure out how these two stories kind of interweave into each other, talking about how Batman and Catwoman's courtship has been going on for a long time, and also tells the story of, I guess, their the final days of their relationship, and you know, kind of flashing forward very far into the future. So it, you know, was an interesting read. The art pretty much kept me engaged because it was so consistent. I'm not so keen on the storyline, to be honest. Maybe it seems like it's one of those things where you know, back in the 80s, they decided to get Spidey, you know, Peter Parker to marry Mary Jane, and it's going to take a one more day thing to to undo this, right? Like the DC version of one more day to undo Tom King's story here. I'm wondering if it's going to come to that, but you know, I'm entertained by it for now, but I'm hesitant to become fully invested in it.
Hmm. Okay. This would be another one to that would have some curiosity on what Dirt thinks about it being him being the Batman fan of the most of us.
Sure.
So, all right. So I guess for my last one, even though I did do a couple more books, but nevertheless, we'll keep it flat. Of course, one of those ones could be my pick of the week. We don't know. Dark Hawk number 51. I guess I will talk.
Matt Wang wants to read it. He can't wait to read it. He already tweeted it.
Huh?
He already tweeted it. He can't wait to read it.
Yeah, so I won't spoil it too much about it, but it is definitely interesting for one shot. And I also will say that it was written by the local team of Chad Bowers and Chris. Oh shit. I'm totally gonna fuck up the names. Chad Bowers and Chris Sims. There we go.
Okay.
Of formerly of, I guess he still is Comic Line still around, or I can't remember. Because I know he was writing for them, or he was like, anyway, regardless. So they wrote it. And this is an older Chris, which now I will go ahead and preface this by saying that I don't remember too much about Dark Hawk outside of
New Warriors.
His a couple of issues of his book early, you know, I guess this was a kind of a 90s book, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And his a couple of issues of his stint with the Avengers around that time. That outside of that, I don't know that much about him. I haven't read Annihilation or any of the cosmic books to where I know he shows up in a couple of them. And matter of fact, they make reference to War of Kings.
Oh, okay.
In this issue. But the crux of the issue is him still having the amulet, but not the power. I guess after what happened in the last issue of his book.
Okay.
I'm not sure what exactly to say without that's not going to spoil too much. But I would say this is him trying to adjust to life after that. But as things tend to go, he's getting like nightmares related to the dark powers and the and things around it. He has a fiance that he's about to marry. He has a job with the police like his old man did, who was apparently a crooked cop. And I guess this was stuff that was that was in his original book that was kind of played with. So there are definitely references to old Dark Hawk material here, but this is him like trying to be better than his dad and trying to adjust his life without his powers. They even showed the champions because I think his fiance was like, well, it doesn't have any power. You need to get rid of it. Give it to the Avengers or somebody, and he's kind of wrestling with that because he don't want to just give it to anybody. And he kind of speaks about taking it someplace.
Okay.
To get rid of it, but he has to go to work. So in that, and him as a police officer gets pulled into something that takes him back to where it all starts. Let's just say.
Okay.
And pulls him into something that changes his life again. Let's say.
Alrighty.
But since it's a one shot, we don't know if it's going to go into anything or not.
Right.
But there are some things that if they were to start another book or he shows up somewhere else, that they have something to go off of. Let's say.
Alrighty.
Chad and Chris are the same ones who did X-Men 92. We should point out. Probably need to try to get, because I know, like I said, I know they're both local. I know Chad specifically is local because he's here where I am.
Yeah, I was gonna say local to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Chris was last I had talked to him was moving to North Carolina. It doesn't really matter, but I don't know if because I used to see him at the comic shop that I used to go to, but that shop's no longer around. I hadn't seen him at my new shop, so I don't know. So maybe we can get in contact with him some kind of way and get him on. But they've, like I said, they did X-Men 92s, and that book, all told, was actually pretty decent. And I know Chad's been doing like Sword Quest and has a couple of other books under his belt. So, and this is one of the other books that they've done together. And like I said, it seems like if they choose to play, if they get enough to play back into that world, they got something to go off of. At least starting off, where it could go, who knows? Because Darkhawk was one of those characters for me that was like, it's cool, but it was a very 90s thing,
Yeah, I was about to say it's not exactly something that I'm clamoring for.
Right? Yeah, they like I said, very much a 90s thing, and a lot of stuff in the 90s were not necessarily stuff that could or should very well stick around. It was a time in comics, let's say. But like I said, this was a good read. I'm interested to see if there's call to do some more stuff with this.
Right. So I wanted to ask you about one book that you read. I have not been reading this book, but I love your notes on this because it references a New Edition song. And
Yes.
it put it in my head automatically, and that's going to be the song for the show as we go play the outro.
Think about stuff,
but yeah, could you just talk about that just a little bit?
Sure. So what we're talking about is U.S.Avengers number 12. This, I'm not sure if this is the last issue of this book, but we do know that at the end of this issue goes into the forthcoming Avengers No Surrender storyline, and it doesn't sound like that this team's, or at least given the last panel, may or may not make it out of it. But this was the second and conclusion of the Cannonball Run storyline, which was only 2 issues anyway. So what happened was Cannonball was out in space, got kidnapped. Well, excuse me, back up. So during I shouldn't probably go back on this, but whatever. Secret Empire happened. The shield got put up. We all talked about this before. Somewhere during that, Cannonball got kidnapped, even though people thought he was dead. He wasn't dead because Izzy, aka Smasher, had a tracking device on him, because that's what you do when you're married, I guess. So, but they went to find him. The team last issue went to go to find him. They ran into some opposition at first in true Ewing style, which ended up being amusing. They also ran across Cannonball in his captivity, ran across a fictitious small town a la Riverdale version of Riverdale, and the characters, which we come to find out are all being played by Skrulls.
Of course.
So, and where the song lyrics come into, which I thought was kind of funny, was, no, I should preface this, because when I put that song I referenced in there, Is This the End, which is what Agent 70 is talking about, I was still reading it. So I think it's the part where song references started coming about. So the song references in question are, how every time one of the team, if you've read one of these books, every time one of the team members are introduced, they have like the name and then have a little footnote underneath about them. Mm-hmm. Well, all of the footnotes about them were song titles.
Okay.
So, and like I said, I did not know that at the time that I put this, because I kind of figured, I was like, well, wait, because I think, and I don't know what made me think about this was the last issue of the book, but because don't think I've seen anything saying one way or the other. But we know Avengers No Surrender is coming, so there's something that's going to change all that. So, like I said, throughout the course of this story, a whole bunch of when they introduced all the characters, all of them had some song title.
I see.
With them,
it starts on the first page.
Yes. So I was like, huh, okay. And like I said, and it's just gonna go through that, and then we find out about the whole thing with the Skrulls and them making up this town somewhere deep in space. because they're going out and try to get old broadcast streams from Earth. So they were trying to find something to they were basically actors playing stories, and one of them got a little too real with it and got a little crazy, and started banishing people and this and other. So it's kind of funny because this is like, it is totally Riverdale. You could totally see it. Like, this is definitely Archie in an Archie book. And then Ewing even references the newer characters that has come along in the recent years, and puts them into a state, you might say. But so it's just, you could kind of parallel this to what's going on with the state of Archie. I don't think you would or could or should, but you can make it you can make a parallel to what some people may think about that whole thing. So I thought this was good for Al Ewing, because like I said, he's good for just throwing some fun into his books and just having a good time with it. But this one seemed like, well, you can definitely make some parallels of some people's thought about some of the stuff that happened in that in that world in this. Okay. So you get a chance.
I was about to say, I totally need to like look up some of these songs on my Spotify. I don't know what that is. Like, what is that?
Right, especially when you get to like was it not Squirrel Girl? Because I can yeah, that one too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Roddy's suggestion anyway. I've already queued it up, so we're good.
Yes, check this book out. It like I said, you may want to read last issue. You don't necessarily need to, but I mean, it's only a 2-parter, and it's real silly and has nothing to do. Well, it has very loosely to do with what's been going on previous to this, because like I said, it's coming out of Secret Empire anyway, and their part in it was loose. There is some things you'll be like, okay, what's going on with this and that kind of stuff, but you could probably get by reading this without all of that, because like I said, it's the state of what's going on with AIM is in flux, or it's kind of in flux.
Gotcha.
Because they've gotten some things down, but we don't know. Again, like I said, this book may or may not be around longer. I'm hoping it is, because I'm not sure if Al Ewing is even writing anything more.
When whatchamacallit, when the new Avengers stuff starts to come down, I think he might be.
Maybe, I can't remember. So,
alrighty. So let's get into clicks of the week. And it's just the two of us, because I don't think anyone else wrote down their list. So let's do clicks for last week and clicks for this week.
Sure.
All right. So my click for last week was actually Thanos number 13.
Okay.
And yours?
Actually, I don't. Now that I'm thinking about it, shoot. I actually had a pretty good run of stuff last week. I guess I will go with clue number 6.
Cool.
Because that was definitely an interesting twist on what could have gone badly.
Alrighty. And for this week, I'm going to go with Spider-Gwen number 26. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
And this week, I am going to go with... should go with U.S.Avengers since I just talked about it so much. But America was pretty good this week also. You know what? I'm actually going to go with John Wick.
Nice. I thought about John Wick. I just was too put off by the art.
Yeah, like, I don't know. This, like, the stuff this week and last week, I know you guys read some different stuff from me, but to me, there were some pretty interesting things in both weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily like blowout standouts, but they were still entertaining enough to warrant some
click of the week mention.
Yes, some mentions, definitely. So,
for consideration. Yeah,
definitely.
Alrighty. So,
Still good. Secret Warrior still good though.
all right. So you got John Wick for this week?
So John Wick's for this week.
All right.
Put it down. Yeah.
All right. So as you're taking that down, I am going to pull up this week our first ad of the night. Let me tell you about Skull Candy. Skull Candy makes the best headphones, earbuds, and gaming headsets, all with lifetime warranties. Skull Candy produces many types of audio accessories, including headphones, sports earbuds, Xbox gaming headsets, PlayStation gaming headsets, DJ headphones, and iPod and MP3 headphones. And now, for the listeners of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles, Skull Candy offers free standard shipping on your order. To help keep our podcast free, order from Skull Candy by going to cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link. Click on the Skull Candy banner and then shop for high-quality audio accessories with free standard shipping. Skull Candy Audio through cspn.us. Do it today. All right.
Yeah, we're doing 2 weeks worth of books, and I totally forgot that I forgot those do the clicks of the week for that amount of time. So I'm going to have to do that because we have another running document going on here.
Right. So I guess I'll give you some more time and play.
We can
the news intro.
Actually, all I need to do is boop, and let us roll with 2 weeks worth of news.
We will go through this very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. It is getting late.
98 Crisis. Okay, so at this point, some of the stuff is old news because the Arrowverse crossover Crisis on Earth X has come and gone. So there's some news from that's going to be sprinkled in and out of this. First, starting off, 98 Crisis on Earth X photos revealed by the CW. Did you watch the crossover?
No, sorry.
Yeah, neither did I. I'm still kind of behind on a lot of stuff.
I stopped watching these shows like ages ago, man.
So I've said this before, but I stopped at the last crossover with the intent of catching up, and I just finished watching that like sometime last week. So I'm still catching up with all of the individual shows to get current.
Gotcha.
Probably taking me a second, and especially since like Punisher's come out, and I hadn't watched that either. But
really,
yeah. So, but yeah, in due time, it's coming. Holidays. Well, not that I have any. Not that it matters, but
well, I mean, it's about you still have things. Whatchamacallit? Demanding your time. So at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, you have to, still budget that time so that you can get this binge watching in, right?
Yep, through that. And on that note, I hear that the crossover was actually pretty good, which sound like it. So. Next up, since like I said, I think I want to say these next two might be related also in that. So Alt Earth Nazis invade the Flash's wedding in a giant first look of the crossover. Again, we've already
yeah, we'll just read through some of these. Just to let people know if they need to. What I was going to say is just to let people know what they're getting into when they maybe hit up On Demand or Hulu, however it is they're going to end up watching these.
Yeah, there might be a couple of spoilers you might run into with this if you haven't seen it. So, but if you're watching the video more so than if you're listening to us, because next up,
Arrowverse versus Supergirl.
Yeah, Arrow versus Supergirl teases No More Nice Earth X Doppelganger. Again, more crossover stuff.
Gotcha.
Crisis on Earth X may have introduced a major DC character. I haven't read this article, so I don't know. And I take it back. I may have been spoiled on it, but I don't remember at this point. So we're not going to go on that.
All right.
Now some Justice League stuff. Go for it.
All righty. So Jason Momoa, the actor playing Aquaman, elaborates on that hero's powers that are going to, I guess, develop in his solo film that were maybe touched on in the Justice League movie.
Right.
apparently the Justice League reshoots erased Aquaman's mythology out of the movie, again, most likely to preserve it for telling in his solo movie.
We would like to believe that's the case. Yeah.
We'd love to. Speaking of something that we actually brought up in our Justice League discussion, fans launched a petition asking Warner Brothers to release a director's cut of Justice League. The director's cut they're referencing is a cut that was presumably put together by Snyder before Whedon came on to do reshoots.
Right. But as we said earlier, this sounds like there might not be enough to have that, and it'll probably be on the forthcoming director's cut of the Blu-ray or whatever the case may be.
Sure. So we're still slightly early in the movie's run, and there may not be that much competition in the theaters, because there's definitely some animated movies out there, and Thor Ragnarok is still in theaters, but Justice League apparently could lose a decent amount of money for Warner Brothers, because counting all of the money that's put into marketing this movie, all of the big numbers that you see overseas are offset by some of the costs incurred in promoting this movie around the world. So some of the numbers coming back aren't that promising in terms of turning a profit for Warner Brothers.
Yeah, although like this article was from last week, so that should be noted. And
right.
At the time, it had a 96 million opening, and it said it failed to learn to at least 1 million, which I'm sitting here like that's still pretty good. And that also depends on how much was used in the budget for this movie. Is the takeaway from it? But
what I was saying, part of the reshoot issue was that it actually caused the film to go way high on the budget.
Oh wait, it says here experts estimate the movie's budget at 300 million.
Right. That's how it got up to 300 because of the reshoots.
So if that being the case here, then okay, yeah, that didn't sound that great because they didn't make it back that first week. But at the same time, I think this might be that might have been that is domestic, and not accounting at the time for overseas, and a whole other week or two.
Right.
Wait. Has it been? Yeah, I guess it has been 2 weeks. Like,
it's been a solid 2 full weeks.
Jeez.
Well, that's how long I was badgering PCN_dirt to get on the show, to watch the damn movie and get on the show so we could talk about it. So, I remember.
Yeah. Not that you've been appeased.
Exactly. Not necessarily appeased. It's just that I felt like that's something we needed to discuss on the show.
Sure. But yeah, so it's not making the money, or at least at the time it wasn't making the money that that been put into it, and I don't have any numbers for this week, so it's still, I'm sure it's still gonna be fine.
So speaking of the Justice League movie, Henry Cavill, he of the CGI'd out mustache, is contracted to play Superman in one more film at this point. So there's the once Justice League has been put to bed, there's one more movie in his contract, and apparently in an interview, Cavill mentioned that it's definitely going to be worth telling, worth contracting to wear the costume again, because Superman's story still has a lot left to be told.
Yeah, and also if you're watching the video, you can kind of note that this picture was probably taken during during Man of Steel, or maybe even BVS. I'm not even sure, but this definitely doesn't seem.
That face doesn't. Yeah, his face doesn't look the same. His haircut doesn't look the same.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, small potatoes.
Right.
Oh no! Don't you do it!
Oh no! Autoplay.
Yeah. Harley Quinn adult animate. Wait. Nope, that's right. Okay, Harley Quinn adult animated series announced from Powerless Producers. Powerless, the NBC DC show that didn't last but 6 episodes. Powerless, we should note, which may or may not be the fault of NBC or people associated with it. We don't know that. I thought that show was all right. Either way, There's going to be a series called Harley Quinn that will, let's see. Sounds like if they get off the ground, Margot Robbie will take up the role of that. Or that's a wish list. So, but the more likely they'll probably go with somebody like Tara Strong or somebody. The series will be written and executive produced by some people, and is reported to feature Poison Ivy and some other DC heroes and villains. Not sure where. Oh, it says also that it's probably going to be on, obviously, DC and Warner Brothers' new streaming service. We don't have a date for it, I don't think. Nope, no potential release date announced for the project.
Okay.
So,
alrighty.
At some point, it kind of makes sense because hey, she came out of a animated series,
Sure,
originally. So why not give her own and capitalize on her still twinkling star?
So speaking of the animated series in which Harley Quinn made her debut, apparently we're digging deep into the archives here. Fox rejected a Batman the Animated Series episode which would have starred Black Canary and Catwoman on their own.
You wonder why? Why would Fox do such a thing?
I wonder.
Weird. But yeah, I guess they were talking to the showrunners of that, and it sounded like there's while discussing. Oh, they talked to Paul Dini actually, and he's got a Kickstarter out that he's doing, and they were, while talking to him, he brought that up. So cool.
Okay.
You see the light of day? Maybe not.
Alrighty. Let's see. The animated Justice League cast wants a reunion movie, and they need the fans' help to get that done.
Yeah, so I saw there was some on Twitter. This was it Susan Eisenberg? I can't remember. It might say in here, but yeah. So this site called Animated JL, or this Twitter account called Animated JL, said they spoke with Susan Eisenberg, and she said that if we want a Justice League animated movie with the original cast, we need to let WB know and tweet people with the hashtag, and also Andrew Romano. Oh, it says Andrew Romano may even come out of retirement to direct it, which would be cool.
Okay. Thank goodness The Incredibles 2 finally has a teaser trailer.
Yay.
Jack has lots of powers.
Yes. Which, if you saw the end of Incredible, you kind of glimpse of all of that, which
He's
is
a super scroll.
Yeah, I know, right? That was my thought. I was like, wait, is this really Super Scroll? Okay.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, go out and watch that. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I actually still haven't seen the trailer yet. No, just teaser. But yeah.
Alrighty. Moving on. Star Wars: The Last Jedi actor Kelly Marie Tran almost quit before being cast in the movie.
Thankfully.
So apparently she had never seen any of the films before. Where was she living under a rock? And
it sounds like a kind of a similar story to Gal Gadot, because I believe she said before maybe it was Fast and Furious, but before one of the movies, she was thinking about quitting acting before she landed the role. It might have been Wonder Woman. I can't remember because I know we talked about it. So it's kind of a similar thing to that. And this article says that she has never seen any of the films before landing a role, which I find strange. But again, it still happens, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to not be familiar with Wonder Woman. I know it's an iconic, piece of pop culture, but this is Star Wars, people. But anyway,
right. But yeah, but if you ever get a whiff of that story, go check it out because it's like she seemed like, I don't know, her character seemed like it was gonna be cool, but she herself seems like she's pretty lively.
Okay, so Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ming-Na Wen, the actress who also played Dr. Deb Chen on NBC's ER for many seasons, wants to play Catwoman. Stay Marvel. Don't go to DC.
No, you know what? Let her do it. We already know she kicks ass. As May, she probably could do a pretty good Catwoman.
Yeah. It should be a good Catwoman, but I wouldn't want her to dive into the DC pool so quickly.
I mean, how many actors and actresses have we known already to do
crossed over, right?
Yeah. Actually, I don't know too many females. I know there's been a lot of dudes, but anyway, we won't go into that. Marvel's Luke Cage season 2 wraps filming.
Wow, it's going to premiere next year on Netflix.
And I'm not sure what else to have going on next year for Netflix stuff. I guess. Oh, Jessica Jones at some point also. That's right.
Yeah, that's the whatchamacallit. Those are the ones that came out right before Defenders.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Fist too. Yeah.
Yeah. With the actress who maybe we missed this when it first happened, but I'm not sure. So if you're watching the video, we see a picture of Mike Coulter with an actress, which was a young lady who's apparently playing Tilda Johnson, aka the Deadly Nightshade, aka of Occupy Avengers fame. And I've been saying that it's like, okay, that character needs to show up somewhere. So we're glad to see that. And apparently she's going to be in season 2 of Luke Cage.
Alrighty. The Captain Marvel movie has cast Jude Law as male lead. So Jude Law is reportedly in talks to join Marvel's Captain Marvel as the male lead opposite Brie Larson. And shout out to Marvel for getting name brand actors to star in their comic book movies.
Well, and you know what? And yeah,
it's just like Jude Law, really? Okay.
I feel like I'm mixing him up with Paul Bettany, who plays Vision. Because when I first saw it, I was like, wait, isn't he playing Vision? Then I was like, no, that's not him. But it's like, okay, whoever didn't get their money from the first run of the movies, just come on in. It's kind of the same as with Star Wars. It feels like, it was like, all right, let's just get all the actors in here. I mean, Black Panther got like almost every major black actor and actress in the movie. So I think that's a
bad example.
It's comic book money.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I think Black Panther's a bad example because I think there's more to it than just that.
Oh no, totally. I know. I mean, but I'm just saying
the example that you want to use is probably just the like the like getting
Benicio. Oh, here we go. It's coming up. Benicio del Toro is going to be in Star Wars.
Yeah, I was even going to say not even Glenn Close in Guardians because no one knew Guardians was going to be successful,
Right.
But like there's character actors out there, like really, character actors that have well-founded careers in Hollywood, and all of a sudden they're popping up in the latest round of Marvel movies. So
yeah, Marvel and Star Wars movies, and it's like, oh really? Come on, they like it's basically just Black Panther aside, that does just seem like, oh, like just come on and get this money.
Sure. It's like, hey, this is definitely going to make money. This is definitely going to get me exposure. So,
and I think going back to the article, he's playing, or the report says he might be playing Marvel.
Right.
Okay.
That works. Lizzie Kaplan joins Channing Tatum in Fox Marvel's Gambit. Good luck with that, lady.
Lizzie Kaplan of Masters of Sex, I believe, and other things. Yeah, Mean Girls, I guess she was also in. Sure. Guess what?
That movie. Yeah, just good luck.
Yeah, like I remember somebody on Twitter saying they finally hired somebody outside of Channing Tatum.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's kind of what I was alluding to. Saga film or TV series may be possible in 15 years, says Brian K. Vaughan. Okay.
Which is kind of a funny turn of events. But then again, and I guess, so basically, I think they were talking to Brian K. Vaughan, and I know he is on record saying previously that he wouldn't, or he didn't think Saga would be capable of being filmed. But sounds like he's thinking, well, they're doing Runaways now, which was another one that seemed to be hard to do, which I think, that's started already. Yes, it has. Runaways has started on Hulu already, and
they're already 4 episodes in.
I haven't on another show I haven't watched yet. So But so basically he's saying like sure they could probably do it, and like he didn't think Runaways was possible to adapt to TV a few years ago, and now it's on TV. So
I was gonna say Brother Man needs a Hulu code, people. All right. Next up, we have Warner Brothers is reportedly recasting the DCEU's Iris West in the Flashpoint film.
So yeah, again, this is just a report. We don't know if this is the case or not, but we do also know that she was supposed there was some deleted scenes from there was a deleted scene from Justice League that she was going to show up in, also that didn't make the final cut, which I'm sure will. I think it's floating around also, and because which I guess kind of would make sense because it didn't seem like it would fit with the Justice League. I don't know, but again, this is just a report, and we don't know if there's any truth to this. It sounds like everything from all other reports is everything's still going ahead with that movie as is.
All right. Next up is a rumor that's been going on, flashing hot and cold. Actually, no, wait, I skipped one. X-Men, the animated series showrunner proposes a season 6 storyline. Can we let sleeping dogs lie?
Hey, you know that was a beloved show.
Some, maybe not to me.
It just celebrated its 20. I think we may have already talked about that. It celebrated its 25th anniversary. There's a book coming out called Previously on X-Men: The Making of the Animated Series, and I think during an interview, it came out that there's a potential storyline for another season 6 for a season 6 if they had the chance for it.
Alrighty. Next up, we have the ever percolating rumor of the Disney and Fox deal being back on and moving quickly.
Yeah, which again, rumor, and by the time we heard about it in the first place, there was already
right
or no progress going on with it, so we don't know what's going to happen with this.
Right. So Marvel officially debuted its first Avengers Infinity War poster after Tom Holland, quote unquote, accidentally leaked it on his Instagram. I liked how he played it. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty. I finally saw that video and I was like, okay, that was pretty neat.
Yeah, because you know that's some good acting. He's just like, oh, he's like, oh no, I'm a leaker. I'm a leaker. So, and obviously we spoke about this earlier at length. The first Avengers Infinity War teaser trailer was released this past Wednesday to staggering replay numbers.
So, okay, first there was a teaser for the trailer that came the day before, and then the trailer that we so I was like, really, a trailer for a trailer? This is where we are. All right.
The hype machine just, couldn't stop. Kept going.
That trailer earlier, so we don't have to really go back far more into it.
Righto.
And we've also talked about, and with that, the things around it. We talked about Tim's article about Cap wielding, may or may not be wielding a new shield in Infinity War.
On the spillover page, okay.
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought I mentioned that. And also there was an article that I mentioned earlier, and we talked about spider sense. And we're also actually in this picture seeing what I was talking about earlier about how the suit, which looks like it could be Iron Spider, and I'm just noticing around the left eye that I don't know if that was a thing, like if that was a gaff or that's just like shadowing or something, but it looks like that the piece is about to come off. The eye patch is about to come off. Maybe that's just me noticing that, but this could be Iron Spider. So, weirdly enough, now that I'm looking at it, it also looks like Ant-Man's uniform slightly with the coloring.
I mean, I'd have to take a look at I'd have to look at Homecoming, like that last scene where they reveal a costume.
Right. Well, I think the costume they revealed then was still not this, and that's why I'm thinking that.
I think it's just that we're looking at it from a different angle.
Well, sure. But I mean, this was. I think the coloration even of that other costume now that I'm thinking about it, may be different.
I think we're just looking at a weird still, to be honest.
Maybe, but this also, like I said earlier, just looks like the current comic book one, especially with the eyes, the glowing eyes thing. It does this though.
Right.
So anyway, there's that. He's got. We saw it you saw it in the trailer.
Right. So speaking of what we were talking, again, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, we touched on this when we were talking about the trailer. It's an end for some of these characters. Avengers 4 directors know who they can and cannot kill. So somebody gonna die.
Yeah.
I hate to paraphrase Jar Jar Binks, but apparently some of our favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe characters are not going to make it past Avengers 4.
Right. Which, I mean, contracts are up, so you can kind of speculate here and there as to who may or may not be in, the stuff like that. But we still got a few months. Let it roll. Speaking of the Jar Jar, there was a funny bit, and I don't think I have it in the lineup, but Janina Gavankar, who plays the lead character of the latest Star Wars Battlefront, apparently talked to the voice of there's a video of her talking to the voice of Jar Jar Binks, and that rumor or fan theory about Jar Jar being Sith may or may not be, or maybe more true than we realize. Like, the video's out there. I don't think I have it in the lineup, but it's if you go check it out, you can go check it out. It's kind of funny. But moving right along with the news here, Ben Mendelsohn plays a pivotal role in Captain Marvel. Ben Mendelsohn of Rogue One, the animated, I don't know why I said that, the Star Wars story, who played, I forgot who did Krennic in that movie, may be possibly playing Jan Rog in the Captain Marvel movie.
That makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Which means also, if that is the case, they sound like they may or may not be skipping over the Miss Marvel part. And if her part gets, I mean, if it plays out like this is indeed going to be her origin story, because we know Marvel's going to be there and he's going to be here, and that's where all that got started. So they're just going to skip to. We don't know. I don't know that, I'm just speculating. Maybe they're going to skip Miss Marvel and then go straight to Captain Marvel at the end of it,
and pass up the marketing and toys
scarf. Although you got to admit actually, you don't have to admit. You got to think that as the references tend to happen in these movies, there's probably going to be like, hey, how about this costume? And then she'll have the original one with the scarf. I'm like, nope.
So Ant-Man and the Wasp may open a whole entire new multiverse. Uh-oh.
I mean, it makes sense. They did, we did see them going into the microverse already. And there seems to be probably poised to go back, given some of the revelations in the first Ant-Man movie. So, sure.
All right. So the next story I found very interesting, simply because I saw a picture of this actress in blonde hair. So Disney Channel star Dove Cameron joins Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast. Now, I understand that she is wearing her hair blonde, and she has voiced the Spider-Gwen character on the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon.
Right.
And this actress's name is Dove Cameron, and she's joined the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, and she made the announcement of her role with some help from Agent Phil Coulson, one Clark Gregg. And seeing this actress, I can't help but think she looks perfect as an actual Gwen Stacy for, the next Spider-Man movie. What are they doing? Why aren't they casting her yet? Holy cow.
Sure, she does have the look. I'll give you that, and you're right.
Look, she does not. No, she's not. You don't even have to convert like who was Gwen in the amazing in the Spidey movies? What's her face?
Stone?
No. Yeah, Emma Stone, but even before that was Ron Howard's daughter. I can't remember her name.
Oh,
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh,
right. So there's Emma Stone and Bryce Dallas Howard. Then you look at this actress, and you're like, yeah, that's Gwen.
I mean, sure.
Yeah, that's Gwen. She could play Spider-Gwen. This one.
Yeah, I
totally play Spider-Gwen.
I looked at this video and hearing her talk, I'm like, granted, the acting is a whole other. No, okay. It should also be pointed out that this young lady was also she was in a Disney Channel show called Liv and Maddie. I don't know. Some people out there know them, and she was also in the 2 Descendant TV movies. So
you got me. But like, just seeing her and hearing, I'm like, yeah, that's Gwen Stacy. They need to cast her right now.
We don't know who she's playing, so there's no way to tell.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny if they cast her as Gwen Stacy in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
But that would be crazy.
As long as they don't do like, oh no, I'm doing the Mockingbird, I will be very upset about that.
I'd laugh if they cast her as a multiverse Spider-Gwen, and that's how they fit her in. I'd cry laughing.
Yeah.
Legions of Shadow King is going to be recast. I think we talked about this already.
I don't think so. So Saeed Tagmawi, I'm sorry if I pronounced the name like, aka he was in Wonder Woman as I can't remember the character's name. So sorry about that.
One of the Howling Commandos?
Yeah. Wait, no, it wasn't the whole Howling Commandos, but yes.
No, but it's Wonder Woman's Howling Commandos. I said that.
I remember seeing the article. It was like they were basically with that character setting up Blackhawks. Or it could have been possibly setting up Blackhawks with that character. But this is the same guy who played that character in Wonder Woman, and apparently he was supposed to play the Shadow King in Legion because he was seen on set, and apparently they are recasting the role for some reason.
Okay. James Franco says his X-Men film project will be hard R and really just push it into a new genre. So he's confirmed to be working with producer Simon Kinberg on an X-Men related film, but will not confirm if it's the reported multiple man project. All right.
We're fan casting it as.
Right.
So, which I guess, sure. I guess for Franco, multiple man would be the one to do. I don't know.
All right. Scooby-Doo's Daphne and Velma are getting a live action film of their own. Spin-off.
The film entitled Daphne and Velma will star Sarah Jeffrey as Daphne Blake and Sarah Gilman as Velma Deakley. You pervs might not want to get yourselves up because these are 2 young ladies. Because there is a slight fandom over those 2 characters in a lascivious sense. Anyway, it's being produced by the WWE's media subsidiary Blue Ribbon, who did Vixen and the upcoming Ray animated series, and actually Ashley Tisdale's Blonde Girl Productions. So,
okay. Alrighty. Something we were talking about earlier, the Crisis on Earth X crossover kills off a major Arrowverse character. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, which we kind of already talked about this already. The character of Martin Stein has been killed off on the crossover. He was leaving the show anyway, as we've talked about previously. So, yeah, that's a thing that happened.
In annoyingly frequent news, Andrew Kreisberg has been fired amid harassment allegations. He is the executive producer of both Flash and Arrow.
Yeah, finally. So he was last time we talked about it, he was under suspicion, and they finally gave it the old X. So
good riddance. Black Lightning powers up in a new teaser promo. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't think I watched this.
I haven't watched this. Gonna have to watch that. Brainstorm has been cast for the Flash. Report. That's a villain for the Flash.
I think that may have been confirmed. I can't remember, but Kendrick Sampson has been cast as Dominic Lance, aka Brainstorm. I don't know this character.
Yeah, that's in the Flash's Rogues gallery for me, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Once you got past like Captain Cold and them, I'm like, all right, I don't know. So, he was previously on How to Get Away with Murder. I don't remember if he was the one that died. No, but yeah. So, sure.
Warner. This is something else we referred to earlier. Warner Brothers is building a Legion of Doom across multiple DCEU films. So I guess across the various hero films, they'll also be building the cast of the future Legion of Doom.
Right. Hence why I mentioned that earlier when we were talking about Justice League. Because
And that makes a whole lot of sense because so many characters in the Legion of Doom are literally the primary antagonists in the hero books.
I could still do that was the part I didn't say about when we talked about that end credit. I could still do without that this version of Luthor we're getting.
Yeah, at least he's bald.
Still annoying sounding.
That's true. So American Gods creators Brian Fuller and Michael Green are exiting the series, and they're no longer the showrunners for the Stars series. And they were pushing for a budget increase, and apparently they didn't get it.
So yeah, which I've seen a little bit of scuttlebutt on Twitter about there are people saying that well these were the only reasons why they were watching the show, so they're going to stop. Which is sad news because I hear that show is actually all right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as acting wise, I've not seen it. I don't know, but yeah, sad news.
Alrighty. Kotaku.com has a first look at the Batman Ninja anime.
Yes, I feel like we've talked about this before, like around Comic-Con, that this was a thing that was going to happen next year. So now we have an animated trailer and it looks pretty good. You know, I have not watched it.
I have to watch this.
Yeah, but it's out there. Go check it out. There's two teasers, one in English, one with subtitles and one without. Like I said, it's got a good look to it already. So check it out.
Alrighty.
Star Wars. Daisy Ridley is done after episode 9. So she was just talking about she only had a
3-picture deal,
and she talked with Rolling Stone, and she's like, nah, she thinks she's might be done after. I don't think she seems confident that she's done after the third trilogy, which would be sad because so far the character's been good and she's begun at it. But I can understand she wanted to get in and get out, and she didn't know of the commitment. I think it says in the article she didn't necessarily know
how deep it would be
until in taking up this part. But like I said, she only had 3 pictures, and that's it.
Alrighty. Benicio del Toro's Last Jedi character will be a quote slicer, so it's a version of a hacker.
They're basically the Star Wars equivalent of a hacker. So I'm like, okay. Which again, people get money.
Get money.
Yeah. First clip of Haley Atwell's return as Agent Carter in Avengers Secret Wars. So we're talking about the animated series
that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, she's going to be on I can't remember what they're calling it, but the Secret Wars is the subtitle of the Avengers
cartoon nowadays
series. Yeah, it's Avengers something, but Secret Wars is the thing. So that'll be cool. I have not seen that much of that show.
I haven't seen any of it. Now I'm looking forward to kind of tracking down these episodes.
Yeah, I've seen like the first few, and it seemed like all right. Like some of the same voice work kind of comes back from Earth Mighty series heroes. The art style is what it is. I'm like, it took me a minute to get used to it from the few episodes that I've seen of it, but it seemed like it might right. And they've been doing some pretty good stories from what I all told.
Sure. And finally, goodness, 2 weeks worth of cinematic news. We have our first look at the Titans TV show's Robin. Brenton Thwaites as Dick Grayson. So the suit was designed by Laura Jean Shannon, who also worked on Marvel's Iron Man. And Titans is scheduled to premiere on DC's yet-to-be-launched proprietary streaming service in 2018.
Yeah. Sure.
It looks fairly classic.
Yeah.
Second gen Robin, not first gen Robin.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like Tim Drake.
No short pants.
Actually, we don't. Well,
no, because with the armor like that, it's almost it's so unlikely that he'd be wearing the short pants.
Right. Yeah. I was about to say because we can't see that. We just got a top shot either way. So yeah, I don't know what that show's going to be, but hopefully it's going to work out.
All righty. So now we're moving on to the comic news.
Yes.
So I think we've spoken about this. I definitely think we've spoken about this before. The creator will take over Jessica Jones when Bendis leaves.
Well, yeah, we talked about that part, but what we come to find out that a female creator will take over when Bendis leaves because he said so when somebody asked him on Twitter or on his Tumblr rather, and he basically says that don't worry about it. It's in good hands, and yeah. Matter of fact, he kind of makes a point of saying that well, he's not updating on Marvel's plans because obviously he's gone to the distinguished competition. But don't worry because he's happy for all his babies next to. Sounds like all of the books and his creations are going to be taken care of.
Marvel announces new details about Wolverine's 2018 return. So apparently, it's never as easy as it sounds.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
That's all I know is that he's going to show up in various books, and it's stupid.
Right. Oh, right. As the ending credits thing.
Yeah. Oh, come on, man. So Brivort on Avengers No Surrender's Hulk return and new villain team and more. Blah blah blah.
Basically, Brivort was talking about was in an interview talking about what's some aspects of the forthcoming November No Surrender series, which we kind of alluded to, talking about U.S.Avengers. There's some stuff. Now, the other reason why I put this in here is because I found something funny that I was like, okay, whoever wrote this article asked the question, like, when I think let's just wait.
Sorry.
Here we go. No, you're good. Because I asked this question, like, when did Spider-Man, Wolverine, or Doctor Strange become iconic Avengers? Because the author of the story asked them when them as iconic Avengers. Yeah. So I'm sitting here like, really? Iconic Avengers, them three. But that was me because being an Avengers fan and knowing there was, when they started putting the more popular Marvel characters in the books was kind of taken a little far. It's still working out for them, regardless. If you the article also talks about the return of Hulk and a new villains team, which sounds like a bigger version of a different team that has shown up in Avengers past. Masters of Evil. Yep. Something compared to them, but not exactly the same.
Alrighty. So from the from the past being redone, Marvel is putting Captain America back in ice.
You're saying everything old is new again?
Pretty much.
Again.
So Wade and Sam are going to freeze Cap in the ice, and he's going to find himself in a dystopian future, I presume. And he's going to have to, inspire and lead a new crew. At some point, we'll have a shocking ending to February's Captain America 698. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, sure. We'll see how that goes. Like you said, okay, great. Sad news, which is also
bad news. Go ahead, read that.
Yeah, Marvel Heroes developer Gazillion apparently lays off everyone on Thanksgiving Eve.
Hey!
So, yeah, so Marvel Heroes, the Marvel MMO that's been going on since 2012 or something. I played it a lot. It actually was supposed to shut down on December 31st because apparently the agreement between Gazillion and Disney had folded some kind of way, or at least that's what was coming out. But comes to find out that Gazillion pretty much lays off everybody on Thanksgiving Eve. The game actually went down the day after Thanksgiving, aka some would say Black Friday, and just out of the blue. So it's sad news indeed, because that was a really good game. But they did, I think sounds like it had, well, I know for a fact that it was on consoles fairly recent. Like it just started on consoles like within the last month or two. And people kind of upset about that, because that was their first foray into it, and people were asking to get their money back. And some, I think, on one platform or another, they were actually getting their money back for them. So that's good on that part. But it is sad because a whole bunch of people are out of work.
Mm-hmm.
On Thanksgiving, no doubt, which I can understand that.
Yeah, that is no good.
Yeah. So rip Marvel Heroes in its various iterations. That was a good game while it lasted.
Alrighty. JLA/Young Animal. Milk Wars details and covers revealed. Okay.
Yeah. So apparently, there's a crossover between JLA and Young Animal, and there's going to be some different versions of characters you know and love coming out of it.
That's pretty unique.
This one here, the Batman with the Bible,
with the preacher's collar. Yeah.
With the Bat Bible. It's kind of a funny one. Like the if you're watching the video, the Superman with the milk as a milkman thing. Like I could see that. Like I don't think anybody would call that a stretch. And also, it's noted that Frank Quitely is doing all the covers, which is why they look so good.
Mm.
And then, sadly, this is Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah.
50s housewife.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Alrighty. On to more disturbing news. New Autobot action figure features pro-Trump message. This is some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I almost sent this to Dirt, but yeah, this is, I don't know. So this came off of IO9, but we're getting this by way of CBR. So apparently, this little symbol that you see here, or the symbols underneath the Autobot logo that you see here, if you're watching the video, apparently
the Cybertronian alphabet.
Yeah, maybe spelling out MAGA, aka Make America Great Again, which is the slogan of 45's campaign run, aka Don Cheeto. Yeah. Again, they don't really know that for the fact, but that's what it seems to be when people try to translate it. So could be wrong, could be a thing. We don't know.
Moving on. Goodness gracious. In Once and Future Queen, Arthurian legend gets a modern twist, and you can read the first issue here for free. So the Legend of King Arthur is has been reworked a couple of times, but a new comic from Dark Horse reimagines it as a journey across time, one that has everything from an LGBTQ romance to portals full of trolls.
And Merlin in a spacesuit.
And you can read the first issue right now, I guess, on the Dark Horse website.
I believe so. Actually, it might be. No, it's on IO9.
Okay.
Site.
IO9 it is.
Yeah, you can check that out. If it's, I guess it's still there. Yeah. So yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
Moving right along. Mark Millar previews new kick-ass comic with new black female hero.
Out of the Millar world.
Although I don't think this is coming out of the Netflix thing, because it says here it's on Kick-Ass got its own separate
right universe.
Oh yeah, so never mind. I said that. So this is definitely not coming out of the Netflix thing, because they already got a deal with Kick-Ass got a separate deal. So cool.
Alrighty. Lego enters the grid with this fantastic Tron light cycle set. Is this official?
I believe it is. I believe it is, actually, yes. Lego just revealed that it's going to create a Tron Legacy light cycle set based on the design of Lego fan named Brick Bros UK. The final version hasn't been revealed yet, but here are some images from Brick Bros set, which is likely to be similar.
Good job, dude. Yep. I'm sure we'll be able to get one for PCN_dirt.
I know, right? Because I thought about him earlier when he held up his this was before anybody saw this, but he was holding up some Tron figures from Disney Infinity, and I thought about it, and I meant to mention it, but I forgot. So, cool beans. I'm a Tron fan also, but I'm not sure if I'll pick that up. In weirdly sad and slightly disturbing news, Marvel's new editor-in-chief just admitted that he used a pseudonym years before to pretend to be Japanese. I think it's also worth noting that before he admitted to it, I believe there was a lot of scuttlebutt on Twitter about that when he was named editor-in-chief. So I imagine this was just him answering to that. So apparently he wrote some books under the name of Akira Yoshida. CB Sapolsky is not Japanese, excuse me, not black either. That he acknowledged it, and, yeah, that happened. Like there, obviously, no one's calling for his head for this, I don't think, but just people have been calling it out because, this is not a thing you would want to be doing in this climate right now, and the fact that he's done it in the past doesn't necessarily, well, it means something, but it doesn't mean nothing, just appropriation going on.
I mean, I could write I think I'm going to write the next great Irish novel under the name Drew O'Malley, and give myself a brogue, and I mean, that's sort of what we're talking about here. Yeah,
basically, like it's not okay to do any of that, and this was done like in
oh no, and perpetrate, yeah, exactly, and perpetrate like I'm actually real as opposed to being a character,
right?
Thing, and I think that's where the line that I think a lot of people objected to was that Sapolsky actually, kind of, made this like an actual person as opposed to just kind of stepping into maybe a pseudonym to write a certain way.
Exactly. Even doing interviews as this character.
So there's a line that he may have crossed, but that's we leave that to people to judge for themselves.
Yeah, but he's not going to get happen to him before. I think that's probably been established. But sometimes it is definitely good to know that the stuff. Oh, Sean Baby, huh? Interesting.
What's that?
So the apparently, well, it's like I said, I saw this on Twitter from various people, but so there's a person going by the name of Sean Baby who was a noted, I believe, this is the same one, was a video game journalist, worked for EGM, I believe, and he was also one of the ones who called us out, and and I believe Sean Baby is a white guy, so I don't know. Regardless, it's a thing that happened, and I don't think he's going to get, he's not going to lose his job over it. But the more lights shining on stuff that's happening nowadays, the better off we'll be in the long run. So moving right along, Dustin Gwynn wants a Robin Earth 1 with Jeff Lemire.
Okay.
So yeah, Dustin Gwynn, tweeted out. I think I actually saw this tweet or from somewhere. He was saying that it would be cool, quote unquote, that this happened. So I'm like, yeah, Dustin Gwynn. Actually, side note, did you take advantage of any of the Comixology sale?
Not over Black Friday, Thanksgiving, no.
Right. So for those who didn't know, it's a little bit late now, but there was a Black Friday sale specifically on, well, most of the companies did, but DC had one, had a couple actually. One of them might still be going because I think the last one I saw was like they had a buy one get one free graphic novels, but they had like pretty much almost all of their trades for $5.
Okay.
Pretty good deal for a lot of them because some of them run a good 20, $15-20.
Gotcha. All right. I think we're gonna try to run through these last few.
Low Gotham from that, which is why I mentioned Dustin Gwynn. But anyway,
I was about to say because we are running a little long. Cartooner, a tabletop game about drawing comics, has launched on Kickstarter. So Mockman Press and Japan Anime Games are pleased to announce the Kickstarter launch of Cartooner, a game of drawing comics, the world's first comic drawing game based on the themes and trends of American comics, accessible for artists and non-artists alike.
Yeah, I saw this. I thought this was kind of neat.
Yeah,
So,
take a look for that on the Kickstarter website.
Mark Millar teases Netflix's next Millar World project. So this is the actual proper Netflix thing.
There you go.
Which at this point I still don't know. So because all we saw was a tweet saying 3 weeks into a new script, here's your only clue to until our marketing department announces in December. And we see here a picture of a hourglass, a small hourglass.
Okay. Some
people are saying it might be Chrononauts, the series he did with Sean Gordon Murphy, but we don't know. Stay tuned.
That's a good clue. Rocko's Modern Life gets a new lease on life in December. So Nickelodeon's Rocko's Modern Life has a new lease on life with an animated special coming next year and a comic book series debuting next week.
I believe that's next week. I was about to say it was this week, but yeah, next week proper.
Alrighty.
2 more new X-Men ongoing series on the way because it's the 90s all over again.
Eesh.
2 new mystery X-Men ongoing series are on the way in the near future, thanks to, well, according to Marvel senior editor Mark Panacea. Can say that there's at least 2 more in development. He wrote in the letters column to this week's X-Men Blue 16. One completely unexpected, and the other is a return of a fan favorite, Wolverine. We don't know that for sure, but more than likely, come on. It's too early to say to get into any of that, but I'm sure most X fans will be excited when we make the announcements. So sure. Okay.
Marvel's New Mutants return in Dead Souls limited series. So
I'm wondering if this
dropped today, right? This dropped today, and Marvel's putting out a new Mutants limited series debuting in March.
Which I feel like this sounds like in line with the movie that's coming out, right? Because it sounds like this is going to be so this is basically members of New Mutants and X Factor, which to me does not scream New Mutants if it's just a couple of them going to be there.
Right, that's Guido. So
right.
Strong guy.
And that looks like, is that who's this dude right here? Doesn't matter. Either way, it's coming. Oh, I forgot Richter. So it's Magic, Wolfsbane, Richter, Boom Boom, and Strong Guy. Which sounds like that other Exterminators miniseries that had a while back, but that's funny. Anyway, that's the thing that's coming. So and maybe that's one of the new books that we mentioned earlier.
All right. Dan Jurgens to write and draw Booster Gold's return to DC Comics. So Booster Gold appeared in Action Comics 993. Was it last week? And what's that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was last week because I did read it like quickly on the way home today. So it's interesting to see Booster Gold reappearing in the DCU, and now he's going to obviously deal with some time travel issues when it comes to this particular character. And
yes.
And last,
DC Comics launches new cover design to replace Rebirth banner, because Rebirth has been going on long enough to where they don't need to do that anymore. Just like they did with New 52, which they kept that a while though. We don't have a picture of it, I don't think. Oh, actually, yes, we do. Excuse me. Why does it remind me of Legacy covers?
That's weird. That's actually mildly weird.
I mean, it's not like these. It's not like the big two don't copy each other day in and day out, as I've also learned from the Comixology sale. But
I'm just saying that this looks mildly weird.
If you're watching the video, you can see what we're talking about. But it's
check out your latest previews, I guess.
Yes, that too. But yeah, so no more Rebirth on the cover, as we are headlong into it at this point. And that ends the news, folks.
Yes, and before we wrap the show, We have one more advertisement to read before we lead into our ending credits. Our last ad of the night is for Wink, Personalized Wine Club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronte, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your tastes and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now, for the listeners of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles, you can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through cspn.us. Do it today.
I can see the drinking game right now. Like every time he says wink, you drink. And
That's right.
part of that may have been just done while he was doing that whole bill. Anyway, we have now come to the end of this show tonight. We would like to thank everyone for. Wait, did you have something, a box or something?
Nah.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
In that case, we're gonna end this. We're gonna wrap this show up. Thank you to PC_Dirt for popping in and giving us his views on Justice League. Hopefully, we will have him back soonish because we are starting to get into end of the year stuff, and yeah, that's gonna be fun this year. Also, Tim DOWG98. Oh, wait, excuse me, back up. The PCN_Dirt on Twitter. PopCultureNetwork.com for his stuff. Pop Culture Net also on Twitter is his handle on the Twitters. Go check him out and all the stuff there. Also, Tim Dog98, that you can find him at that on Twitter. You can also find him at CBCron running. Are you also running CBCron, or is it just him?
No, it's just him.
That's what I thought. Okay. And also the KLIQ Nation on Twitter. You can also go to thekliqnation.com to check out stuff there, such as the New Mutant article and other stuff that is there. You can also find Agent 70, Agent_70 on Twitter and the Instagrams, because he's doing it for the gram, folks. Showing his prestigious collection of things. And actually, I just reminded me, I never did put up the picture of that last issue I got, but I'll do that after a while. Which you can find at RowdyCat on Instagram, but you can also find me at RowdyCat on Twitter. You can also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. No site just yet, but that is forthcoming. You can also find this podcast and other fine podcasts on cspn.us. Go over there. Go check us out. Go check all the good stuff that is over there. Maybe there's a wine cup. Well, there is a beer cup podcast. And other new show that just started, but no wine one just yet, but time will tell. You can subscribe to this here podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all those good places where you can find podcasts. You will find us there, and all other CSPN shows. You know it, you love it. You can also help us out by going to shop.cspn.us. Go there, get some swag from one of the shows, ours or one of the other shows. We got some nice stuff in there, with emblazoned with our nice logo on it. You can go help us out, help you, help us, help you, help them, help the network. And with
that's one cash register ring for the entire plug section.
Well done. And with that, we will be back here next Friday night, 9 p.m. ish, for another episode of Comic Book Chronicles. I was trying to think if there was going to be any movies, but there's not, because we still have a whole another week for
Star Wars. Yeah, before we hit Star Wars Protocol.
Which, regardless, we will probably be recording the day after that with somewhat impressions for
Probably
that.
won't be talking about it because PCN_Dirt will not have watched it yet.
I mean, this is old news at this point.
Yeah.
we've all gotten used to that. So if you're not out there playing Pocket Camp or Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, you should do so. It's a good game if you are so inclined. But with that, I've done all this talking and I almost did this. And totally forgot about what I was about to do and needed to do that. With that, this is the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles, and we are out.
I told me one day it was gonna happen, but she never told me when. She told me it would happen when I was much older. I wish it would have happened then. Mama told me one day it was gonna happen, but she never told me when. She told me it would happen when I was much older.
Hold your insulting tongue and mock my words well. How about this rumor that you are really hired